Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. We are back to our usual late in the night for all the night owls out there version of the show. Of course, we have a lot to talk about. The New York Comic Con is now officially up and running, and that means you've got some panels from DC, including, of course, the Belle Reve experience, where you can go visit and get your fill of creature commandos and what that experience is like for those cast of characters in the new animated series. They will have, of course, their whole panel with all the cast, including James Gunn, of course, the, from the show itself and the larger DCU. That's going to be this Saturday. But today we had a panel from the Penguin, and almost the entire cast was there. The showrunner was there. They answered some questions. They talked about a bunch of stuff regarding the show, the process of making the show, what they're like, and what they're excited for us to see for the rest of the season, the second half of the Penguin, that is, because we are now at the midpoint of the series, and there was a new, mid-season trailer that was put out. So we're gonna get into that as well today for the Penguin, and of course, there's we cannot talk about the DCU without talking about Superman. There are more reports out there about how Warner Brothers is going to approach the marketing for Superman, including the fact that they want to highlight hope, as and positivity as a virtue, like just sort of leaning into that Boy Scout nature of Superman. We're gonna get into that and what that means for the marketing campaign, the summer of Superman, as it were, or as it will be, hopefully. And of course, we have your comments to get into, as always. And we'll get into some, stuff that John Cena posted. I'm sure you guys clicked into this video looking at the thumbnail, which showcased a new helmet for Peacemaker that John Cena posted on his Instagram account. So we're going to dive into that, look into it. What does that mean? How does that fit in? We already got like two other helmet photos from James Gunn. How many helmets will Peacemaker have in this show? So to do that and so much more, of course, as always, I've got with me John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Um, had a lot of stuff today, but I managed to do some of it. Not all of it, but I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, so like I have to adjust my screen. But it's been a decent day. Very decent day.
That sounds good. Yeah, I like what you've got on your chair back there. What is that? Like that special blanket? What kind of blanket do you have there?
So I didn't think to do this, but then I was like, you know what? I had my horror movie stream earlier, so I was like, might as well put my horror movie blanket my buddy gave me. It has like a bunch of like horror icons on it. You could see like Jason, see Michael. I think you could see Hannibal Lecter, the girl from Night of the Living Dead, Jigsaw, Chucky. See Reagan in there, Frankenstein's monster. There's like a whole bunch of horror icons in the back there. I decided to drape it. I'm like, oh, that's festive, and then I'm like, it's festive. It works for my streams, and then it's like, it also looks nice. Covers the
It
garbage on
does.
my chairs too, so
It
that
does.
helps.
Is there a bunch of like laundry that needs to be done on there too?
No, it's mainly just like I have like a bunch of posters I'm meaning to sell, and like I've been really lazy about it. Like I have like a bunch of old VHS tapes and a bunch of old posters I need to sell and get rid of, but they've been sitting on that chair. Plus, I have a couple stuffed animals, and I have a giant Snorlax. He's made a cameo in a couple other episodes, but yeah, he's under there. I also have a plush chicken nugget, dino
Oh,
chicken nugget.
uh-huh.
So I have that too. My sister gave it to me.
Dude,
It
I'm
was
just like, are you just about to auction everything off on the show? Because I don't know, maybe Ron or Ray J might be
no,
interested in
I'm
buying. So
I'm the Snorlax and the chicken nugget are not for sale, but like if people want posters, fucking hit me up.
hit John up. If you need a. Ron is like, I'd rather watch Joker Folly Ado than watch Justice League Joker. Oh, wait, that's what? Oh, Josh is in the chat. Hi, Josh. I was wondering where that comment came from. Josh is like, world's biggest Jared Leto Joker fan is here, baby.
Do you miss me? Honka honka. Yeah.
I prefer I can't do the voice today.
I
Um,
prefer Jared Leto.
Damaged. Yeah, I meant Jared. Okay. Yes, Josh and his sarcasm are back, and we love that you are back in the chat. We missed you the last few days. Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, Ray J is already interested in that Dino Nugget, man.
I don't know where
It's
my
just
sister got it. I'll text her later. I'll text
yeah.
her tomorrow, and then see where she got it from, and then I can give you guys the link where to find
Yeah,
it.
no, we can do a live auction. We can be like, all right, going Dino Nugget, going
I
for
mean, if you
$5,
guys are on the hunt
$5.
for
Hey, about
VHS
$5.
tapes,
Go
I
for
have like
10,
a bunch
10.
of. I have a Star
Yeah,
Wars. I have an official movie,
yeah.
but like a movie theater poster for the movie
Mm-hmm.
Paul. They were giving away a bunch of movie theater posters like years ago, and I just took one. It was the only movie I liked. It was like Your Highness and like all this other garbage. I'm like, I liked Paul, and so I have that. So if you want like an official movie theater poster, I have that one. The rest are just regular. I have a Daredevil one. I think I have a Beatles one. So if anybody wants a poster,
That's a
20 bucks
good
pop.
collection. You know what? You know what? We can make that a part of one of our streams. You can showcase all the stuff you've
And
got
I
on
have a
offers, and
shit
we'll
ton of
have
like
links.
Disney like animated VHS tapes. Like my buddy gave them to me, and I'm like, and I sold a couple of them, and then
You know,
and then they weren't selling that well, so I took it off, but now I got to re-put it up again. So
y-
hopefully I could
I
sell
will
those.
say this though: if you're selling VHS tapes or auctioning them off, you better also be auctioning off a VHS player because it's like most people don't actually have
Hey, I
VHS players
sold like
anymore.
10 of them. Like I
So
sold it like out of like the fucking like 60 I have had, and now I have like 40 or so or something like that. So people were taking them, but
yeah, hey, I mean, you know what, real guys, if you're interested in John's collection of auctionable items, then hit the like button and then let us know because we might do yeah, you know what, we could bring in a selection of items and we'll make that happen on a live show.
yeah.
Josh is like, Paul is an unofficial part of the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah, the Cornetto saga, it kind of gets it's because it has both, the two of them. It doesn't have Edgar Wright though directing, so it like kind of counts, not really, but you know how it is.
Yeah. Ron is like, I'll only be interested in Batman underwear. Very specific taste for Ron. Very specific taste. Um, Kevin in the chat, Gladiator 2 Wicked will do well at the domestic box office. My only concern is the international audience. I know we're not talking about those two movies today, but we will be next week, and that's a good concern. I will say that with Wicked, it might struggle a bit more internationally. Gladiator 2, I feel like might get an audience, abroad because it feels like the kind of movie that audiences would love across. I mean, if it hits, of course. For all we know, both movies could suck or both movies could be fantastic, or we could have one does really well and the other one
Mhm.
doesn't. We will get into that later on, but Kevin, that's a good comment. I do share some of your concerns as well. But you know what? We're gonna Josh is like, I prefer George Clooney Batman. You know what? Underrated. Underrated. Underrated Batman. At least in my book. And but hey, John, let's start off with some wonderful news before the clock strikes midnight on the East Coast. Today was and is the birthday of one of the co-creators of Superman himself, Jerry Siegel, and James Gunn posted about it, of course, from way back in the day. The OG superhero was created by Jerry Siegel, was one of the two creators of Superman. So um, it's just good to see again, just it's being addressed, it's being championed. To me, it means that James Gunn is championing the brand of that is DC. He's not just there to make movies. He is a fan of DC, and it's kind of like you like to see that from him, because even Kevin Feige doesn't really have that kind of a presence, right? um
Mm-mm.
like I don't know if you, again, they're not the same people in terms of Kevin Feige has a very different role in the MCU. I mean, there's similarities and overlaps, but it's just wonderful to see that James Gunn addresses all of these things, and he's a very, very big ambassador for the brand, as he should be. I love it. I mean, happy birthday to Jerry Siegel. Alongside Joe Shuster, they created the character of Superman, and was it 1938, if I remember correctly? It
1938.
was 1938. It's the oldest superhero that we are aware of. One of the OGs. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? And
Well,
did
I
you
would
wish
say
Jerry
the
Siegel happy birthday
modern,
today?
like the most popular and modern super, because you had like the
Yeah,
Shadow and Zorro and Doc Savage
yeah,
before them, but those were like more pulp magazine kind of guys that
yeah,
like they could exist. But yeah, Superman was like the first like real like superhero
yeah.
like that is still used today. So you know,
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, there's of course all kinds of mythology and stories that have existed for hundreds, if not thousands of years, passed down across many cultures. But the equivalent of that today, and the most contemporary iteration of that, are superheroes. And Superman was like the first one of the era that we enjoy today. And of course, we're getting a new Superman movie that James Gunn is directing, a movie that is very personal, very near and dear to his own heart. So him wishing Jerry Siegel a happy birthday is fantastic. Speaking of Superman, a couple other tidbits. Not really a tidbit, it's a massive bit actually, because we talked about it the other day, but I wanted to bring it up again. There was this really cool post on the Superman account on Instagram, and I came across it. I was like, you know what, this is a great opportunity to again, remind everybody, if you are in the US, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, is now playing in a theater near you, and you can go check it out. It's now got 6 Critics' Choice Award nominations in the documentary category, including Best Documentary Feature, Best Director, Best Editing, Best Score, Best Archival Documentary, and Best Biographical Documentary. So it's just a movie that I have not heard from a single person who has seen it that they did not have an amazing time at it, that they did not cry at it. It's like everybody's like, you know what? I don't know how long it's going to take for me to recover from this. It was amazing. I was laughing, I was crying, I was smiling. It's just one of those uplifting documentaries that will leave you moved and, hopefully having a, more positive outlook on the world, which is exactly what Superman, the character, is meant to do. And of course, that's what Christopher Reeve embodied his entire career. Before, during, and after he played the role of Superman, he continued to fight for the causes and champion the causes that he cared about. So I just wanted to bring that up as a reminder. But speaking of Superman, John, those aren't the only Superman related news items from today. We also have this big item that was in the description for today's episode. I wanted to really get into that because I feel like this is worth a conversation. Now, of course, this is a report. It's not necessarily one that's being reported by Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, The Wrap. So it's not like a big inside, well, one of the industry trades, but Danny Malish on Twitter posted that, one of the scoopers, one of the many scoopers, that, he or she, I don't know if that's a he or a she or it, they heard, or they keep hearing from friends, that the impetus for the marketing for Superman will emphasize hope and how positivity is an admirable virtue, and the overall Boy Scout nature of Superman. A lively, upbeat Superman is coming, John. What do you think about that idea? The summer of
I mean,
Superman,
that
as we
sounds
have heard
fucking good
before.
to me. Like that sounds fucking like let's go. Like, they were kind of implying the, greatness of Superman. I mean, it is gonna be tough because there are gonna be tons of general audience members gonna be like, another Superman and it's another reboot. So hopefully that can win them over. I know a lot of people are happy. I mean, a lot of nerds are happy because, like, the fucking Superman shirt fucking sold out twice. Like, that's saying, unless they had like 5 in the warehouse and they're like, yeah, it's sold out. Like that, they probably produced a lot of fucking shirts. So you know what? That's saying a
I still
lot.
need to
So
get my hand on one of those. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so like I feel like there's enough people excited, but maybe those advertisements are gonna get
Hmm.
people even more excited for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I mean, look,
know. I
this
mean,
new, yeah,
crypto got a lot of people happy now.
he
So
did. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it just Crypto just looks cute, just so cute. I mean, it's great. I can't wait for that. But I was gonna say, Superman, this new Superman movie, is just as much an exercise in brand rehabilitation as it is an exercise in storytelling. So the marketing for this movie has to carry the weight of expectations, not only for the whole new cinematic universe that the DCU is going to be, but it also has to really bring DC out from the dark ages that have been the last few years, with a floundering DCEU, as well as, of course, what has happened with Joker Folie Adieu. And people are really hoping for something that, gives them a reason to kind of cheer on DC Studios and what the future of this brand is going to look like. Of course, there have been some, uh, hope, if hopeful, like projects along the way. It's not like everything has been bad in the last 10 years. A lot of people, loved Aquaman to the tune of $1 billion, the only DCU movie to make $1 billion. People, loved the first Wonder Woman movie. Of course, we all, went and saw the Batman, and we are all watching the Penguin. But overall, it just seems like the general audience's perception of DC is inferior to Marvel, and this Superman movie has to sort of change that
Yeah.
perspective. Plus, also, Man of Steel wasn't as well received, even as somebody who loved the movie, and I think it's still probably the best Superman movie made. And again, I haven't seen the new Superman yet, and that new Superman movie isn't even finished yet. But of the ones that have come out, that Man of Steel is my favorite, and I love the soundtrack that Hans Zimmer came up for it, and it just, to me, Henry Cavill is one of the best Supermen we've ever gotten, and we've never gotten a bad one. But Henry Cavill just continued on the tradition. But I cannot wait for David Cornstalk Superman. Having said all of that, a lot of people didn't like that take from Zack Snyder, and now this new Superman movie has to sort of like bring back a lot of the traits that people wanted. The feedback that DC has and Warner Brothers Discovery, as well as of course DC Studios, have been getting over the years, that we want a more hopeful Superman. We want a Superman, that kind of encourages positivity, and where positivity is an admirable virtue, as this report says. We want that Boy Scout Superman. Like, what? How do you think that's gonna like play out in the actual marketing campaign of the movie itself? Like, what does that mean for the poster, for the trailer? Like, what are
I
we gonna
feel like
get?
there's
Because I
going to be
remember
like
the
a.
Man of Steel trailers, but and they inspired hope. So I'm like, how did they do this differently?
I think there'll be more of like a cheeky wink and a nod to it. Like
Yeah.
there's going to be like a meta, like, you know what I envision? Do you remember? I think it was, yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming, where they had the like Captain America PSA. So he's like, "You got detention," like something like that, where it's just like very like cheesy, but like in a like aware meta awareness kind of way.
Hmm.
Like they'll like kind of feed into like more of the like
Yeah.
really go into it, so like they can make the jokes before other people do, because I'm sure like a lot of people who are excited or even not excited are gonna make jokes about like, oh, this is fucking cheesy and campy. So I think it would be funny if they like did a one up on them and was like, fine, you think it's gonna be cheesy campy? Well, we'll make it even more cheesy and campy, but it like only in the marketing. It won't be like as
Right.
much in the actual movie. I think that would be like really funny. I think they would to get a one up on the audience, not in like a bad way, not in a mean way, not in a mean spirited way, but like a sort of like, we get what you're saying. Let's let's jump into it. Let's jump into it.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's also one of those things where when you say that, I can immediately, what comes to my mind is like a lot of people are there's gonna be people out there, not a lot of people, maybe, or maybe, relatively speaking, there will be a lot of people that will say, oh, DC's trying to be like Marvel. They're being all jokey and, inside baseball with their humor, but I mean, a lot of movies do that. B, I don't think that means it's immediately something that only Marvel can do. But like you said, if that's really the marketing, then I mean, it doesn't need to be like in the movie itself. There's a joke like every 5 minutes, right? But what I do
Yeah.
like about the best Marvel movies that have humor built into the movie, is when it's not distracting, right? The last few days, I've been oh, Josh is like, be less like the boys, be more like, good. Yeah, exactly. The boy. That's exactly what Superman is, and I'm sure you're referring to The Boys, the show, Josh. But I was just
Yes.
gonna say it's the best, Marvel movies that have done a good job of balancing the humor with everything else. Like I've been kind of for the last few days, for whatever reason, I've been obsessed with Louise and in the first Ant-Man movie, and just the way that he tells stories and stuff. I'm like, those are the kind of movies, like, is that Ant-Man movie has some serious subject matters in it, and a lot of like, adult themes, in terms of like, there's uh moments where, of course, Scott is struggling to get a job, and he's got like a record and stuff like that, which could be a hard thing to. It's not exactly humorous in and of itself, but like, he's at Baskin Robbins and stuff, and then of course his whole crew, and it's nicely balanced. It's a movie that is enjoyable, watchable. That the first Guardians of the Galaxy James Gunn worked on was incredibly watchable. I can watch that movie 5 times in a day and not feel like I'm getting tired of it, but I love it that much. um and I feel like if this Superman movie is that you can view it and not feel like it took a lot out of you, kind of like, I mean, not every movie has to be that. Like, you can go watch Oppenheimer maybe once a year and be like, I've got my fill, because that movie is like a full meal and then some. But then there's movies like Barbie, where, where you can watch it 3 times in a day and still have fun with it. So I feel like Superman should be more like the Barbie. I'm not saying it needs to be like Barbie, like literally. I'm just saying it needs to be a movie that people can go have fun watching and then go back again in the same weekend and bring their friends with them, and then go back again the following weekend and bring some of their family members and keep going again and again, because that's what it's going to take for this movie to make the kind of money that it needs to be considered a success, but also to kind of help bring back that positivity around the DC brand. um so I would love to see, again, how that message of hope is translated into a trailer. Do you think this shot, by the way, because we haven't really asked this question specifically, but since you have gotten this promotional image, do you feel like this shot is going to be in the movie or something to that effect? Because it's inspired by a comic book panel. And of course, it doesn't look like this is entirely AI generated. It might be Photoshop, but it doesn't look like it's AI generated. There's a motion poster of this where the Earth is rotating. So, do
Mhm.
you feel like this is like inspired by a shot in the movie, or do you think this is just for marketing purposes?
I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Like with the previous image where he was sitting in the chair putting his boots on. So I'm like, James gonna claim that was in the movie. So, but the costume is clearly different. Like there's more of like an angular collar and rather than the rounded collar, just like the it looks darker. There's more bagginess. The logo looks different. So I don't know. This could be like a very like if this is from the movie, this is a very like out there image, like a very like in terms of like cinematography and like
Yeah.
a lighting, it looks um uh it looks very like I don't know like the right word for it. Like it
It
looks just like
it looks artificial, you mean?
fantastical,
Fantastical. Okay.
very
Yeah.
fantastical in terms of like this doesn't look like something in reality, which could be really good. It just depends how what the rest of the movie looks like. But it also kind of looks a little bit fake looking, like a little bit too fake, and people might have a problem with that. So obviously we'll see. But I still like the overall vibe this gives, but it
You
might be a
know,
little bit too fake looking.
okay, I see that what you mean by that, but hear me out. Let me see if I can find this right now. I'm gonna look because I was gonna bring up an example of something that I remember from. Oh, what is happening? There we go. Okay, this image from Guardians of the Galaxy. Do you remember this from like the opening scene of the movie? Like that
Hmm.
whole sequence? I forget the name of the planet. But do you remember in this shot, like Peter Quill is like jumping up in the air and he's like sort of just like it becomes like a Spike Lee shot, except he's floating in the air where the camera is just like, and the background behind him, it's sort of that the motion feels very like a comic book panel come to life. And I'm like, James Gunn has done, and it wasn't the only example of him doing that in that movie. In fact, he did. There was at least one or two examples of a shot like that in the second Guardians of the Galaxy as well. So I'm like, if they can do that, and he has,
Yeah,
of
that's
course,
fair.
he has done that, then why not maybe have something similar for Superman? Like, why not? Maybe it starts off here and then it zooms out into like a wider shot, and it's sort of like a really big tracking shot where you start close up and then you go farther away. I'm not saying it needs to be, exactly this, but I'm just saying there's precedence for James Gunn doing stuff like this, where not every shot needs to feel like it's grounded in a reality. Like, it had to be shot in camera. This looks exact. Like it could look a little too good to be true, and he
Right.
can get away with it. You know what I mean?
I guess
Um,
so.
yeah,
I do like how you like in front of Superman you see like this glow, like this like very artificial glow and it looks
yeah,
really nice. I like that. Like it's like specifically around him and
right.
I do like that vibe. But it's just like the him on the moon and then it looks like a set and then him looking at the earth it looks like almost like a matte painting. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's just, you know, looks a little
Fair.
sterile. I guess so. I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying has to be in the movie. I'm just saying it could be a reference to something that is in the movie. By the way, Magical Sky Wizard in the chat. Okay, the Watcher's in the chat. Hello, Watcher. We haven't seen you in a couple of days, but thanks for watching. Who's watching the Watcher? He said this DC world is going to be very, very fantastical. Anyways, so it makes sense. Yes, it's just a promo shot. I can see this poster being on banners in the cinemas. Agreed. Yeah, I again, this could be something they use in the promos, but it doesn't need to be in the movie itself. I think Magical Sky Wizard is talking about this shot that he doesn't like.
Yeah, well, Magical Sky Wizard, you could suck these nuts. How about that? All right, so get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then Casey's saying it's clearly not from the movie because it's too fake, but a similar scene will be in the movie probably. Same with the first picture. Exactly. I mean, we haven't really seen. I mean, I don't know if there's an equivalent of that, like an early promotional art for the Guardians of the Galaxy where this particular shot was in there or something like that. But I mean, I like the style of cinematography again because if there's one thing that I like about Zack Snyder's work is that he's a great cinematographer. Like he's a director, but his visual, mind, like he's a very visual thinker, and the way he designs his shots, he is almost a cinematographer in all of his work anyway. Like you can see he's doing a lot of the camera op work himself. He'll get behind the camera for a lot of his movies. James Gunn may not do exactly that, but they have their similarities in the sense that they both openly adopt like these very comic book looking artworks and turn them into live action sequences, right? And that's what, of course, a lot of people love Marvel for, like these iconic scenes brought to life. And I think that's what we are all looking forward to in the DC world as well. We got a little bit of that with Zack Snyder's movies and with some of the other movies that we have seen in the DC in recent years. But I feel like we're now going to get more of that and maybe more closer to the comics than we have gone ever before for DC. Lenny saying maybe DC marketing is about lowering the audience's expectations so we'd be pleasantly surprised. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they should just go all out. Like there's no need to hide or like downplay anything, right? Because usually if the studio is downplaying the movie, then that's a bad sign.
That could shoot him in the face a little bit.
Exactly. Like to me, that's like a worrisome sign that, oh wait, they don't believe in this thing. I want Warner Brother Discovery, I want DC Studios to be blaring their horns as loud as they possibly can. Because to me, that's a sign that they love this movie. They're confident in it. I mean, they did that for The Flash. It didn't help the movie once it came out, but like you gotta make that effort because if you don't,
Alfred Hitchcock and Stanley Kubrick says Superman 2025 is the greatest movie of all time. Tom Cruise gives his seal of approval for Superman.
Well, Tom Cruise probably will because Tom Cruise he's got to deal with Warner Brothers. So I'm sure he will get like an early cut that some production assistant is going to bring to his house and wait outside while he watches the movie. Then he's going to send it back and be like, James, he's just going to speed dial James Gunn and be like, man, this movie was amazing. It's the greatest superhero movie I've ever seen. I cannot wait for this in the movie theater. And then, we're going to get an article and deadline explaining all of that. I can't wait for that. So that but yeah, Josh is like, why are people so nervous over a little teaser that's not even in the movie? Judge the movie when the trailer comes out. I agree. I know we're looking ahead, and I just kind of posed the question of is this shot going to be in the movie? Because I'm like, it can be, like, there's examples of similar shots that James Gunn has done before. So it can happen. There's nothing against the idea. Josh saying, for those who hate CGI, go watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and say that movie looks bad. I agree with you. That movie has
I would say Volume 2. Volume 2 I think looks better.
Volume 2, dude, all of those movies look great. Like and you could tell and James Gunn himself has said in the past that, his approach is always the same. Like he plans his stuff out in advance. He doesn't make a ton of last minute changes. He gives the VFX artists enough time to do their work, regardless of whether it's at Marvel or at DC. And that results in a great final end product. I mean, the same applies for the Suicide Squad. If you watch the James Gunn, the Suicide Squad, I don't think I can think of a single example of a VFX shot in that movie that looked bad, And they had a freaking huge starfish Megazord at the end of that to fight. So there was a lot of in the middle of,
and you had King Shark throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, and Magical Sky Wizard. I trust in Gunn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I just love that that was voiced by
Sliced alone.
Sylvester Stallone. Like, I'm like, come on, man. Like, of all the people, it's like Vin Diesel voicing Groot. You know, it feels meta in a way. You know.
Well, I mean, he
But
said
anyway,
Groot was like very therapeutic after the death of Paul Walker, so like it helped him with that. So, and he also like dubbed it in every language,
yeah,
like
that's
every
amazing.
or like he did it in like Japanese and Spanish and like every dub for every because it's like it's one fucking line.
Hmm. He can do that. I mean, they can get him to do that.
Soyuz Groot.
Man, who Groot? Yeah, that'd be great. Great stuff. Hunter, you give it a good question. Any more hints at other superheroes? What are your thoughts on Creature Commandos being connected to the Lanterns TV show? I was getting rumors about that. I don't believe anybody has confirmed that Creature
Nah.
Commandos is connected to the Lanterns TV show. And even if it is, I mean, they exist in the same universe, so there may be like sparing connections. I
I
don't believe so
mean,
far that
you
it
have
means
Alan
anything significant.
Tudyk in Creature Commandos.
Yeah,
Nathan Fillion is a Green Lantern. There's a connection right there.
yeah.
Anybody remember Firefly? No. Okay. Well, never mind.
I do. No, I got that
I've never
reference.
watched a single
I got that
episode
reference.
because it's like,
We
what's the
are
point? It's
damaged
only a
honka honk.
season.
Come on, Josh. You're getting back into the honka honkas. Come on. It's hunka hunka, by the way, not honka honka. But okay. Alan has how many? Ask Magical Sky Wizard. um. Anyway, that's a good point about Ray J about Gunn's preparation. I think James Gunn has the perfect approach for CGI in terms of making sure that everybody in the movie, working on the movie, is well prepared and they don't go into they don't feel like they're being rushed and working 18-hour days as animators or VFX artists, and not just that, but also people who are working on set. And it just goes to, that's the hallmark of a good filmmaker, that they prepare everybody on their team well, because the director is what everybody in a movie crew looks up to. And so that if the director can set the stage and be like the most prepared person on set and off set, then that will set up the rest of the production for success. um and yeah, John Gunn is charting new ground in the comic book movie genre. People are not used to, certainly with the Marvel way, that people are not used to the alternative. Lenny mentioning though, I heard at least, so I mean, yes, it would make sense, but also it's sort of, Creature Commandos sort of leads into the Superman movie as well, because Frank Grillo's, Rick Flag Sr. is in both projects, and then he's also in Peacemaker. So I believe chronologically all of these will tie together well, and then Peacemaker 2, I believe, will tie into Lanterns in some way, I suppose, as well, right? Like they're gonna try to connect it in some. I'm not saying like Waller is gonna show up across all of them, try to recruit them into the Justice Society or anything like that, but I mean, what do you think, John? Is there going to be any more to it than that? Like maybe there'll be some characters that are jumping across the different projects, or do you feel like there's
I
more of
mean,
a
we have Frank
direct
Grillo. I
connection?
mean,
You know?
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And Lenny's saying again, it's part of the DCU, so yeah, everything connects, right? Exactly. I mean, the early days of the MCU, it's not the big connection that they had was Phil Coulson, right? Phil Coulson showed up in all those movies until
Yeah.
he died. Spoiler alert for anybody who was that late to the
Not
party.
seen a movie that
Um,
came out fucking 11 years ago or 12 years ago. God damn.
Yeah.
But
Lenny's
yeah,
saying there
and
is
but
a
then
New
he
York
fucking got
Comic
brought
Con live
back.
stream.
So like
Yeah.
there goes that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how like
Yeah.
that was like I mean I've been kinder to the first Avengers over time.
Dude.
I initially when I
Yeah.
first watched the Avengers, I fucking hated it. But I've since been like, okay, yeah, it's an okay movie. But like I just think it's so fucking funny. Like that, like Phil Coulson was the thing that brought them together. That still makes me laugh. Like,
It
and
does.
it's
You know
just
what? I will say
because
that.
when you
It
look
it
back, it's like,
struck
who the
me.
fuck is this guy?
I
Like,
know
why do we
exactly.
care? We
I
don't give a
felt that way
shit.
when the movie came out. I did. I'll be honest with you. But because it was a very loose connection. I'm like, they all knew him for all of 5 scenes apiece. It's like, it's not like he was a
Fucking, I don't think did Thor even meet him?
yeah.
I don't think Captain America met him.
Well,
Like,
no,
why do we care?
Well, Captain America didn't meet him, but Thor did. No, but didn't Thor meet him?
Maybe
I guess
I
it's
don't.
implied that Coulson has played a role in all their lives, even behind the scenes between the movies. But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of theories from you guys in the chat. The Watcher saying, I personally think Creature Commandos ties in a lot of the past into the present. Remember, Gunn said the DCU is built like Star Wars, where there are eras like a past, present, and future. Yeah, I mean, it's a very well lived in world.
Not the best comparison considering how much of a
But
shit
right,
show
right.
Star Wars is right now, but
In an ideal world, though, like the way Star Wars could be, I suppose. Yeah. Yep. Josh was like, I forgot Firefly was a thing. Come on, man. Firefly was a thing. And
it was a
stuff was
thing,
so
and then it
slow.
ended. And then Serenity came out, and then like Alan Tudyk died, and then that was that.
You mean Alan Tudyk's character died? Alan Tudyk is still around. I don't want
Thank
to
God.
start any rumors here. And if you don't want to end up on TMZ with false news. But yeah, Casey's saying it's funny that Phil Coulson is an original character that could have been back, but instead they made Nick black, but instead they made Nick Fury black. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Either way, I'm okay with that. I personally liked Agents of Shield, but anyway, we're getting into the wrong side of the comic book world right now. As much as we love our Marvel, we're here to talk about DC. It's DCU daily, not more MCU weekly. So, Magical Sky Wizard did watch every episode of Agents of Shield. By the way, I will address.
Damn, why?
Why? Because I loved it. It was amazing. Okay.
Ew.
Not every episode and not every bit of that show is amazing, but it was a good.
Eleni, Agents of Shield was a bore fest. Yeah, I watched like the trailer for that. I'm like, maybe I'll watch it, but then I heard it was shit, and I'm like, okay, fuck that. I'm not watching it.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But John, what are your expectations of this Creature Commandos series so far? There is a Belle Reeve.
I'm reasonably excited.
Display.
As I mentioned,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I think I think it's definitely gonna be like I don't like how it's just gonna be like another Suicide Squad. I don't like that. I wish it could have been like at least attempted to be kind of different rather than just like it's the Suicide Squad but with monsters. But I still like the idea. I like the animation. I like the voice acting. It all kind of works with one another. So I'm excited. Like reasonably excited.
I mean, I am very excited personally because the closer the show gets, I mean, it is literally our first look at the new DCU, right? And even though it's animated, I'm excited for it. Have any of you guys been to New York Comic Con? Are any of you guys there? Like, because I am excited to see what this experience is like for people who have been, in and around it. People are still, you guys are still talking about Marvel. Now we got everybody talking about Marvel and Star Wars in the chat. That's great. Good job, John. Let's bring it back to DC, people. We're here for DCU Daily.
DC guys, DC.
We love all of our comics, but today we're talking about DC as we usually are. But look at all this stuff, man. Like there's all these images. Rick Flag Senior. You got
calling Rick Flag Senior a DILF is crazy.
Is a DILF is crazy. I do.
Sebastian
like the look of
is not happy about this.
Yeah, impressed. Weasel was here.
Yeah, look how The Rock tried to change the hierarchy of DC. So fuck off.
Yeah. It looks interesting. I mean, it's a good experience for anybody who is at the con. It's definitely one of the more unique things from what I've heard at Comic-Con this year. And you can see there's a display there that's playing a bunch of, I hope, this footage from the show. We got some signage. It's a nice interactive experience. So if you guys are at the Comic-Con this week in New York and you get a chance to go by, let us know what you think about it. It looks interesting. It looks fun. I mean, it's a good primer for the whole panel they're doing later this week. So I'm excited for that. They're also handing out these bottles. Task Force M. You can get the bottle.
Looks like a flask.
It is a flask. That's actually a better description of what it is. It is a flask.
Well, I mean,
so if you go through
it looks like a water bottle mixed with a flask, though. like because it
Dude,
has
it's
like
like
a
a
water bottle top.
mega sized, yeah.
So it's like you could be
Lenny,
like, oh no, it has like a top. It's like a water bottle. Meanwhile, it's just like booze.
it fits the theme of the show, right? Like that's kind of what it's meant to be.
I guess so.
Um, Hunter, you're leaving us already. He's saying have an awesome weekend, guys. All right, Hunter, we'll see you next time. But we're not going anywhere. Hunter is. Good night, Hunter.
Andrea
Lenny,
Romano. Isn't she
yeah.
retired now?
I was gonna say,
Wasn't that like the big
yeah.
thing? Like she retired.
Casey saying they should have done Shade and kept Waller out of Creature Commandos. She literally is getting her own show for some reason. Also, call her show The Wall to make it sound more interesting. I mean, I like that title personally, but I don't know. I mean, I I I I hope she's not like in every episode of the show because I feel like they don't want to they shouldn't overexpose the character considering we've already gotten 2 movies with her. She's been in the first season of Peacemaker. Um oh, Hunter's saying I'm just here listening to you guys. Well, of course, and we love talking to you, Hunter.
Yeah,
Magical Sky
so
Wizard saying he's been to
Andrea
Seattle Comic Con
Romano, by
15
the
years
way,
ago.
she retired in 2020.
Yeah, during the pandemic. That's yeah, it's been a while. I
Well,
mean, which
December
character
20
would
she
she
well, she said
voice?
in 2016 no matter what, she would retire at the age of 65, which she reached in
Yeah.
December of 2020. Now she's in Brazil with her husband. So,
Hashtag goals. Hashtag goals. By the way, creature. Sorry, not creature, but the Watcher. The Watcher has a good comment. To be fair, I don't expect Secret Six to feel much different than Suicide Squad, because, like I had mentioned before, there are all Waller funded. It would feel off if Creature Commandos
I mean, you
wasn't
could still have like a
Suicide
little
Squad at
bit
the
of
same
that
time.
vibe, but like at least like it's just like another it's just like if everything feels like Suicide Squad, it's just like I feel like that's like kind of boring and repetitive and kind
Yeah,
of lazy a little bit. Like yeah, they could all be, fucking funded, but like, you know, they can fund different things and still feel different. Checkmate isn't going to feel like the same thing as, Secret Six. Like it's all different. They're all
like
different
what
types of
are
things
we?
with
Some
different.
kind of Creature Commandos?
Yeah.
We're the Patsies.
Yeah.
What are we? Some kind of creature? I'm sorry. That's just funny. Like I
What
just
are we?
love how
Some kind
there
of
were
Secret
memes of
Six?
that when the new Thunderbolt trailer came out. What are we? Some kind of Thunderbolts? I'm like, yeah. I like I laughed at that for a long time. I will admit to that.
Yeah.
Lenny's saying they should bring her back. She was the reason JLU was so good. Dude, I love JLU, but I mean, she's retired. She's enjoying her retirement. Let Andrea enjoy her retirement. Shade is literally behind the Creature Commandos. Watcher. Okay, Casey mentioning, have you read the comics? No, I mean, the Watcher was saying Shade doesn't tie with Creature Commandos. As far as I'm aware, Waller funds the monsters in Pre 52. Okay, fair enough. But that's true also, the Watcher saying all the Marvel movies do feel like the Avengers. It's flavors of Avengers. I mean, they're going to do a Young Avengers, I suppose, as well, but I don't know. But I don't think it's out of place that Amanda Waller's involved, because again, she's sort of part of all of those different things. So I'm
Right.
okay with that. I mean, John, based on this experience, the Belle Reve experience that you've seen some looks at today, do you get any sense for what this panel is going to be like on Saturday when James Gunn and the whole cast of the show is going to be there? Does it give you any more insight into what the show is going to be like? We know, by the way, there's going to be a new trailer, like a full trailer dropping for this.
Yeah.
So we got a teaser trailer. Now we're going to get a full trailer for the show on Saturday.
Right.
What are your expectations? What would you like to see from that trailer?
I would like to just see more of the vibe, maybe more of the like human characters. Yeah, I think they're just gonna show a little bit more, but not too much, and then like give us like yeah, just pretty much more of the vibe without showing us so much that like it spoils stuff. I
Yeah.
don't think they're gonna be like, you know here's the entire show. Although that would be funny, that it would be like, oh yeah, we're just having a trailer, and then they actually show like the first episode. That would be kind of cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be very cool if we got like a full episode, like even just one episode. I'm down for that. I know some people were expecting to see something from episode 5, like a full, maybe even a full episode 5 from the Penguin. I know Liz wanted to see a full episode 5 of the Penguin today at the panel, but they just gave us some inside looks, like a couple of like vignettes, and then they
Yeah,
did the
that
whole
is true,
mid-season
Casey.
trailer.
By the way, she had
So
nothing to do with Creature Commandos in the comics.
right,
So
yeah. But again, they're adapting this stuff. They're called adaptations. So that means it doesn't need
I
to
know. I'm
exactly
just
line
saying.
up, right? I'm not saying I'm
Didn't need
telling
to
you.
be.
I'm just saying in general. And exactly. And Lenny's saying the same. Adaptations are not copy and paste. It's more like let's play around and move things, but be respectful to the source when done right. Exactly. I agree with you, Lenny. And yeah, that's completely fair. But okay, and the Watcher and Casey continuing their conversation around that, and we will let that conversation continue in the chat. But we do have other news to talk about beyond just Creature Commandos and
Mm-hmm.
Superman. Um, we have to talk about this Peacemaker helmet, dude. Where is this Peacemaker helmet? Let me find this thing.
It's on
Since we're
Instagram.
on the
So
topic of Creature Commandos, where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Instagram photo by James Gunn. Sorry, I've got a lot of things open here. So, Creature Commandos, we know is going to feature Rick Flag Sr. And we know Rick Flag Sr. is going to be maybe the principal antagonist of Peacemaker Season 2. They've been filming Peacemaker Season 2 for a while. There was a couple of things that got out, like there was like this, mural on the wall that came out a while ago, and Warner Brothers really clamped down hard on it because apparently it was like a real spoiler of some sort. So we know there's potentially multiple people donning the Peacemaker helmet in this show. Actually, not multiple people, but I should say there's multiple people from the family of Peacemaker, so maybe forming a team. What are your thoughts on this new helmet? How does this tie into the story? We've already seen 2 other helmets that James Gunn posted.
I don't have
family, you said it. You
You
said it.
should have just kept on going. I was prepared to take it like a man. Like, okay, whatever.
No, I picked the longer one, so that's why I just picked one of the random ones. It was a little bit too long, and that's all.
All right.
I didn't want to have it go for too long.
But what are your thoughts on this helmet? What is this
It's
helmet?
it's
Like
fucking
something from
cool,
the
man. I
comics?
love the
Like,
mohawk. That's just fucking awesome.
It's a mohawk. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious what like the powers would be, for this one. It would be cool if it like launched and it was like a rocket and you could like like it's like a blade and it just slashes through people. That would be funny. I that's probably not what it is, but that would be 35
Yeah,
seconds ago is sexually aroused. What?
But wait, Magical Sky Wizard said reminds me a little of the mermaid poster. Huh.
What?
That's what? In what way does that remind you of the mermaid poster, Magical Sky Wizard?
What mermaid? Like the Little Mermaid?
I
Or like when
imagine
John
so.
Cena was a mermaid? Or the
No, I don't
mermaid
think that's.
that Vigilante, like he uses the mermaid emoji. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't
Hugo
know.
Millie in the chat. Oh, with the pillar, with the pillars. We're
That's
still
now
lost.
I have more questions.
With what? That on okay. Hugo Millie, Yondu inspired, maybe. Maybe. Michael Rooker was in the Suicide Squad. I don't know. Oh, the animated movie. Oh. I guess a little bit. I don't know, man. We're not. I'm still drawing a bit of a blank. I think I know where you're going with this. And Josh is like, "What mermaid?" I don't know exactly. I don't know if it's the mermaid specifically that Magical Sky Wizard is referencing, but that's besides the point. By the way, in the chat, everybody's talking about how Sebastian Stan has said that he's got a soft spot for the Riddler. So if he ever were to join the DC or hop across to the world of DC, he might play the Riddler. Which, yeah, you know what? Maybe there will be a Riddler in the DCU, and maybe Sebastian Stan can play that character. Maybe his time as the Winter Soldier is finally up. Um, maybe he bites the dust in the the Thunderbolts movie. So, but John, I do want to ask you, since this is the third different helmet we have gotten. I mean,
Mhm.
it was implied, let's say at least, or it was straight up shown that there's a ton of different helmets in the first season. Do you feel like this is just
Yeah.
more of the same? Like, or because John Cena didn't really. It's not, I know they showed a ton of helmets, but it's not like John Cena wore a million different helmets in the first
Right.
season.
I
Also,
mean,
it
he
doesn't
wore like
feel
a
like a lot
dozen,
of.
maybe.
I
Like
mean,
maybe.
okay, fair, but I'm just saying like these look distinctly different, right? Because there was the last one that James Gunn posted looked very much like from the comics. The first one James Gunn posted was pretty much like the one from the first season, the main helmet. Now this one looks very different as well. Um, do you think it's just like we wear a red shirt one day and a blue shirt the next? Is that what this is, or do you think there's more of a story
Yeah,
behind
I
it?
think like he just has a lot of different helmets, and that's what he's gonna wear. Like he's gonna
Okay,
wear this one eventually for a
yeah,
certain power.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, maybe this is when he fights Professor X or somebody with telekinetic abilities. He needs that helmet. Yeah, I love the comment. Great, where's my popcorn? Because this could make a great popcorn bucket. I would love that as a popcorn bucket. Um, the Watcher going off on the whole Sebastian Stan thing. See, now you guys are just talking about it, so let's take a look. What is this? I don't give an F about what Sebastian Stan says. He said FDC back in the day. Now wants in. Boy knows that Marvel reboots coming. Oh, tables have turned. Yeah, and
Well, I
so
mean, the thing is, Jason Momoa has said "fuck Marvel." Robert Downey Jr. said he doesn't
mhm.
understand the Dark Knight yet. You need like a master's degree to understand the Dark Knight when that came out. So you know what? And he went on to work with Chris Nolan. So like, it's all just you know petty
He
bullshit.
goes
It's
like
just like
maybe it's a zip line helmet, like maybe it could be a chainsaw helmet. I don't see a chainsaw. I mean, unless that thing moves, which I doubt it does. Josh has an interesting theory about it as well. But anyway, he's like Peacemaker saw Arrow's comment and made a helmet to spite him. That's funny. Like Stephen Amell. That's great. That's great. The comics war is so funny to me. Yeah, exactly. We can love Marvel and DC. It does. You don't have to pick one. We can go watch both and enjoy both. Um, you really think Cav is about to be big at the box office? Oh, Kevin Davis talking about how his superhero movie lineup for 2025 is going to include Captain America 4 as like the highest grossing, Fantastic Four as a second, then Superman third, and Thunderbolts fourth. I don't know, man.
I really don't think that Captain America 4 is gonna be getting a lot of money. Like that's ah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like Superman is
I
probably
feel
going to be
like
the highest
if
grossing.
I feel like at the least Superman would be like number 2. But
Right.
I have a feeling, you know what I feel? I think Thunderbolts would be a surprise number 1 hit because Captain America 4, that shit's DOA. That shit is like they reshot that thing like 6 times. All the test screenings are saying it's terrible. Like they just had one like a couple days ago and they said it was awful. Like and they spent like apparently the budget ballooned up to like $400 million. I read conflicting reports on that. Some say it's 450, some say it's 350, but that budget has ballooned up to like
It's
a
like,
huge
but
amount of money. And
that's like the
even Giancarlo
Justice League
Esposito
budget.
said
Yeah.
this that his character was inserted later on,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't meet his co-stars until Comic-Con. That man was on a fucking green screen set and was just inserted this movie, and then they inserted the Israeli superhero, and then there was a shit ton of
Then they changed
backlash,
her
and
character.
there
Yeah.
was a shit ton of backlash. Then they like dropped her dead, like they didn't though, where she's not going to be called Sabra, she's not going to be, she's not going to wear a suit, it's going to be a reinvention, blah 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 blah. And then you have the whole shit with Israel and Palestine, and then that went even fucking lower to the fact that she's like now like not even like a supporting character, like she's barely in the movie.
Yeah,
So
that movie has become a complete mess. It feels like there's two other
now
examples
Lenny,
where I
I
can think
agree
of.
with you. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, I just do not think Captain America 4, out
Yes.
of the 3 movies that are coming out next year, I would say Thunderbolts is the most likely to be the one to get the most money because
Yeah.
Captain America 4 is DOA and First Steps is like it can go either way. It can be like the biggest one,
that's the X
or it could be
factor.
like
That's the X
completely in the shitter. Who knows? Because it's like it could just be the case where people are just fucking sick of Fantastic Four. They're like, this is the 5th movie, this is the 4th reboot. We're done with this. We don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Like, there's the possibility that like maybe Pedro Pascal, Joseph Quinn, Vanessa Kirby, they could like get that star power, what little they have, and
They have some
get
star power. Come on.
they do have something like Pedro Pascal is America's
Yeah.
sweetheart. I mean, he's going to be getting some Pedro Pascal fans in there. Joseph Quinn, like he was in Quiet Place Day 1. He was great there. He's going to be in Gladiator 2, great there. And then, he's going to be, he's rising star. And then Vanessa Kirby has like, she's a great actress. She has Mission Impossible and The Crown under her belt. So she has stuff too. But like, in terms of
She was in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, the 3 out of the 3 I would say Thunderbolt is probably the most likely. If I were to take a guess. Now, I could be totally wrong, could be bullshit. How is it when it take almost as long? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look,
Well,
just the
hang
fact
on.
that Superman.
How is a conspiracy when the reshoots take almost as long? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's definitely a conspiracy because, but yeah, I mean, there's obviously reshoots are a part of filmmaking. That's just that's just like the nature of the beast. So, but the thing that's alarming is that they've reshot the movie like at least 3 or 4 times. That's alarming. I don't think Superman will flop either. It's definitely not flopping, but I just think in terms of the 4 that they mentioned, I don't think Superman would be number 3. It would be 2 at the least. I'm saying 2 at the least. I don't think it'll be number 1 or number 2. In terms of Marvel stuff, I'm just saying Captain America 4 is not gonna fucking be the most out of all of those. Not even close. Not even close.
I mean, look, my take on this. Look, where Captain America 4, the trailer, I think Lenny might have said this, or one of you guys said it, like the trailer looks very generic. I think Lenny, you said it, like it just looks so generic. To me, it looked like a lesser version of the trailer that the first full trailer for Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And I think they're going for something along those lines, but it clearly feels like it's a movie that has a lot of different moving pieces almost to the detriment of the movie. Because if you remember, when Marvel was going really well for those few years, when the first Guardians movie came out, the Captain America: Winter Soldier came out, you look at those movies and they have a lot of characters, but you can really sum it down to like you can count like the big story beats and the characters on one hand. And at the end of the day, you can really say in a few sentences what the movie's about. This Captain America movie just seems like it's trying to juggle too many balls all at once. And I feel like that's going to ultimately hurt it. And the fact that it's already got a budget of like 400 some odd million dollars because of all the reshoots, there's 2 examples of that happening recently, right? Like there was the Justice League movie that Joss Whedon came in and pretty much we now know reshot almost 70% of it. And that budget went up to like 400 million. There was never going to make its money back at the box office with that kind of a budget.
No.
And then
we're
more
not
recently
talking about box office profit.
No,
we're just talking about revenue.
I know. Just in revenue in general too, but profit is like a part of the picture. But then also Fast X, only a couple of years ago, Fast X came out, and that movie's budget had ballooned to like 400 million. It made like 600, 700 million at the box office. Granted, a lot of it came from the international markets, not North America. But
the Chinese,
like
they love their Fast and Furious.
They do.
Chinese market loves their
my
Fast and Furious.
And
they love Transformers, Avatar, and Fast and Furious.
But the point is, it's very rare for a movie that has gone through that, because ultimately it's been hacked and rehashed so many times. I'm still gonna give it a fair chance, like shake at the box at the movie theater, but I have a harder time believing that movie is gonna look more cohesive than something like a Superman or even Fantastic Four, where they've really put a lot of care into the pre-production. And with Superman, we know they have really taken a lot of care to make sure they get every little bit of it correct. So, and right for the fans and what they're expecting and what James Gunn wants to see happen. So, if I were to make this list, I personally would put, and like, because I agree with what Hugo Millie said. If Superman is even an 8 out of a 10, I think it becomes the highest grossing movie of the year. Not like Man of Steel, which Man of Steel, by the way, for all the negative reception, Man of Steel made almost $700 million back when it came out, right?
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like it completely flopped. Like, it made money. It was in the black. It wasn't a movie that lost money. So Superman as a character does have a draw, and with this movie and the positive,
It's just the
build
problem with
behind
the
it,
draw is that people are sick of reboots and superhero fatigue is setting in.
but dude, people said the same thing when they were rebooting, after Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, they were rebooting with Tom Holland, or even when Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was coming out. Like,
Yeah,
those movies
but the thing is,
made
what they had on
money.
their side was that
Like,
now he's part of the MCU, and the MCU was
I
still at its height
okay,
back in the day.
I
So there
get
was
that.
that.
But dude, they just made like the seventh Batman movie, like different Batman, a couple of years ago, and that movie made almost $800 million with Robert Pattinson, right?
I think that was
So,
because it wasn't part of the DCEU because people were sick of it
but
at that point.
right, but the DCU itself as a concept is novel, right? Like, the DCU hasn't existed before. It's not like I'm just saying there's enough going in its favor that here's my opinion on this. I feel like Superman can be the highest grossing movie. If it is positively received, I think the good positive word of mouth is going to possibly push it to the Batman level of box office, where it makes almost 800 million. Maybe it can get to $1 billion.
I can't see
Fantastic
it getting to a
Four,
billion, but I could see it making as much or a little bit more than the Batman.
yeah. I mean, I think that's a good range. That's a good number. I mean, anything over that is like, they'll be popping bottles. They'll be popping bottles if it gets to 700, 800 million, but they'll be really
Kissing
popping
hands,
bottles.
shaking babies, doing all that.
Exactly, all of that stuff. Um, Captain America 4, I think, has an uphill climb, especially because it's also coming out like in the early part of the year. It's not even coming out in the summer months, so it's already got an uphill battle there. Fantastic Four First Steps comes out in dead middle of the summer. It comes out a couple of weeks after Superman comes out. I feel like that movie should probably be aiming for somewhere around $500 million or more. If it gets above that threshold, great. A little less, that's fine. Thunderbolts, like you said, is an X factor. Like, to me, that movie has the potential to become $1 billion movie if it's really good. Otherwise, it could really crap the bed because it does feel like a knockoff Suicide Squad based on that first trailer. So, Kripke, yeah. I mean, I was tired of the boys after season 2. My
Yeah, that's
opinion.
when I stopped watching. I just got.
I was like, okay,
I,
I've
I
got
don't
it.
wait.
I get the
Actually, I don't
gist
know
of
if
it. I don't need more of this.
I
So,
what when did I stop watching the show? I think I watched season 3 because I remember Stormfront being in the hospital bed and then that scene.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that, and I
Uh-huh.
just like after that, I just got so sick of it, and now I just fucking hate the show. It just caters to people that hate superhero shows and movies
Mhm.
now because it just jerks off what they already think about stuff. That's
Both
what it
literally
is.
and figuratively, it does.
Yeah, it's just like the boys is like I don't mind the boys. I don't mind mean spirited stuff either. It's just like at least with like Deadpool, like it's fun. It's like it pokes fun at everything. It's fun. Like I get that, even though I don't really like Ryan Reynolds that much anymore. It's like at least there's like a fun aspect. The Boys is just so fucking mean spirit, and it's just like not even funny. It's I just stopped caring after a
Yeah.
certain point. Like season one was really good, and that's what it is. I feel like with a lot of satire stuff, they just go way too fucking hard. That's what happened to Rick and Morty. Like the first couple of seasons were really good, and then it just went so hard into like the meta and satire, then it just lost itself and it just became not funny anymore. And then the fan base becoming like two-way obsessed.
Yeah.
So it just became like too much, and it just like I
Yeah.
just don't
Well,
like
but
it
the thing is,
anymore.
here's the thing. At the end of the day, like Magical Sky Wizard, who's a big fan of not only the boys but also Gen V, you can love it. That's completely fine. Like, if you love it, that's great. I'm not saying don't watch it. I for one, you know, grew tired of it. So, and that's not, and it's not even that I grew tired of it. It's just only have so much time in a week we're doing the show 5 days a week, and then on the weekends I'm doing other stuff. So I have very
Wait a
little
minute. This whole
free time.
operation was your idea.
So for me, it's just the few hours that I have to watch television. I really want to watch something that I'm going to enjoy, and I just think for
Yeah,
me, The Boys
exactly.
wasn't quite clicking in the way that I would have really liked for it to. So I'm watching like Slow Horses. I'm watching The Old Man.
I've heard
I'm
great
watching
things about
those
Slow
shows.
Horses. For All Mankind, greatest show ever
Dude,
made.
yes. I mean, The Expanse. It's
Straight
not
up,
on the
I
air anymore,
am
but
going to watch it. I have it planned.
you better
It's just
watch it. It's great. There's
after
more seasons
October,
coming.
I'm gonna have more free
Yeah.
time.
I mean, there's another
So,
season of Shogun coming. I love that show. But
yeah, I
look,
need to
Casey
watch
has got a
that.
good point. It's not superhero fatigue. It's not sci-fi fatigue. It's not Western films fatigue. All these genres will have and will continue to exist. It is, like he said, it's so eloquently, it's dog shit fatigue.
That is fair,
Because
but here's the thing, as well as the fact, yes and no. Here's where you're right, but you're also wrong. Yes, but actually no. It's dog shit, yes, because Marvel, like ever since Phase 4, ever since Endgame, they've had like Wakanda Forever, Guardians 3, No Way Home. They've had a lot of really great stuff, and then they had like kind of average stuff like Doctor Strange 2, Shang-Chi, that kind of thing. And then they've just had like shit, like Aquaman, or not Aquaman, sorry, Ant-Man 3 and Marvels and like stuff like that. And it's just people equate superhero with dog shit now because that's all they see. Like we're getting the Sony movies, we're getting fucking Morbius, Madam Web, the like Craven, like which all suck, or at least going to suck most likely. So they equate superhero with shit, and because of that, it feeds into superhero fatigue. It feeds into that. So exactly, exactly. I mean, I can't believe like fucking Seth Rogen actually knows what he's talking about. Good lord. But it's also Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman's a
right.
legend for a reason. Um so it just there is the dog shit fatigue, but it's also like even with good movies, yes, like you have Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's just like most people, I feel like general audiences most of the time, not all the time, and I'm not saying it's blank you're totally wrong because I think you're right. There's still their love of superhero. It's becoming a little bit too much, and I do think that after there's a certain threshold. I don't think we've totally reached that point yet where just dog shit and superhero is just going to be one and the same. They're just going to equate all superhero stuff with shit unless we get fucking Disney and Warner Brothers heads out of their asses and they actually fucking do shit. So
Look,
yeah.
look, Josh makes a good point here. Let me put this up, Josh. I think you're making a good point. And also I'll add to what you said there. Well, actually, no, you mentioned Deadpool there, Deadpool and Wolverine. It made $1 billion. I mean, Doctor Strange
Yeah.
2, it made almost $1 billion, and
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy
That
almost did as
that
well.
doesn't mean I was talking about quality specifically.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think
And
in
there's
general,
a reason why Deadpool and Wolverine made $1 billion. That movie could have been Hugh Jackman taking a shit for 3 hours and people still would have seen it and it still would have made $1 billion. Like that's just fact at this point. Like it has Hugh Jackman in the yellow suit. They didn't even need to fucking make a movie around that, So that would have made $1 billion no matter what.
Yeah, he is the X-Man, I did enjoy that scene though, actually, I will say. I mean, and then some of you guys saying, look, the superhero genre will continue even if we don't get as many movies. I think the demise of the superhero genre has been greatly exaggerated.
Yeah,
Because
I
at
think
the
so
end
too.
of the day, like look, and Angelica's making a good point in the chat. Next year in July, so many big movies: Jurassic World. There is a Superman, Jurassic World Rebirth, actually. Superman, the Smurfs movie, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel. There's a Fantastic Four First Steps. Only 2 of those movies are superhero movies. And as far as, the rest of them, all of them could suck. I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is it's not that, we're going to get fewer, superhero movies, or even if you do, ultimately what matters is quality. If they're making good movies, people are going to love them. What has happened in the past few years, and it's sort of been coinciding because on the one hand, you had the DCEU slate last year, where the Aquaman 2, Blue Beetle, what was the other one? There was a Flash, and then there was one more, right? Like, what's the one I'm forgetting about? Shazam 2. It was so forgettable. I forgot that it was Shazam 2. Shazam: Fury of the Gods. All four of those
Shazam Fury of
movies,
the
I
Gods
can
was great. Fuck off.
look. I will say this. No, I'm not. Look, I liked
I know,
all
I'm
of the
just
four
kidding.
movies. I enjoyed all four of them on some level, but I will be the first one to tell you none of them felt like they had anything new to say. They all felt like movies that
Running
we
out
have
of
seen before.
steam,
Yeah, they were
essentially.
all movies that you have not only seen before, but they're all movies you have seen in the past 10 or 15 years of the golden age of the comic book movie genre.
Right.
So it kind of got to a point where it's sort of like, remember when the Western started to die out? It wasn't that the Western genre died out. Now, we still have a ton of Westerns. There's a whole Yellowstone universe. Clint Eastwood is still around. I mean, and you get like a dozen Westerns a year. Half of them get nominated for Oscars. You still have shows like The Old Man, which is basically a Western. So, and even, Logan, one of the best superhero movies of the last, maybe ever, really was a Western film. So
It's
the
because
genre hasn't
then
died
you
out.
also can categorize
But
the neo-Western, which is a
right,
modernization
right,
of the old Western concepts and ideas.
exactly,
Like Hell or
exactly.
High
But
Water was another one.
right, no, that was a great movie too. But the point I was trying to make is, back when the Westerns were like the superhero movies of their time, what started to happen is everybody started to make one. And then when
I
everybody
don't
started to make a
agree.
Western, not all of them were as good. And it was just like, we had this issue of, you cannot. Here's the thing that happens with anything creative, especially movie making, right? You have when something works for one studio, every other studio wants to repeat that success. And what
Yeah,
ends up
of
happening
course.
is, instead of going after and telling a good story first, you start to like check boxes to try to imitate the success of another movie, and that leads to diminishing results and lesser quality product. So what we've gotten like phase 4 of the MCU that a lot of people didn't like, and that was quite frankly underwhelming, including, probably the one of the, two movies that, like, between Ant-Man 3 and the Marvels, two of the biggest, money losers. Not I mean, Ant-Man 3 might have made some money, but overall, two of the biggest flop. And Eternals, even Shang-Chi will, didn't make as much money, although more because of the pandemic, because it was received really well. But there's examples of all these movies from Marvel at the same time that the DCEU is suffering. So I think the general perception of the genre, because the two biggest players in it were not doing well at the same time, has become that there's superhero fatigue. But then you have examples of great movies, like you pointed out, Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. You have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You even have the Batman, on the DC side of things. The Joker move, the first Joker made $1 billion. Aquaman, the first one, made $1 billion. There's examples of movies, when you make something good, people will go and watch it like multiple times. Like, it
Yeah.
happens. So even if we get fewer movies, I mean, honestly, I will trade in quantity for quality any day of the week. Like, I'd rather they, like James gonna said, we aim to do 2 movies and 2 TV shows a year, and Marvel is not going down a similar path, so that they're not like overextending themselves. I personally
Right.
love that. I think that's the way to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of you guys agree. It's not like we're getting tired of one particular genre, and even if we are, maybe there'll be fewer movies, but as long as they're good, we will love them and we'll go see them. Temple
Yeah.
saying, hell, Superman is the most well-known fictional character of all time, and he's a
That's true.
superhero. Westerns never had this type of privilege. That is true. And Angelica agrees with
To
you,
be
John.
fair,
Shazam 2 was
I do want to mention this really quickly. I don't believe superhero movies are like westerns. There is a really great video by a user called Eyebrow Cinema where he makes the argument that superhero movies were really not like the westerns because of a lot of things I can't mention here. It's like a 30-minute video, but I highly recommend it. It's a great video. But he doesn't equate superheroes to westerns because westerns could have been made for really low budgets. You could go out to the fucking LA flats and just fucking, film anything you want. And it was essentially he equates superhero stuff with mainly what's the word for of epics, like biblical epics, because they were big budgets. They were only made by like a few studios and the such. So yeah, that's what I equate that to. I don't equate it to westerns, but that's just me. And he made a very good argument as to why. And I think I'm I don't know if I left or he left. Okay, so it looks like I'm still here. So it looks like Dan left by accident. So, hello guys. So essentially what I was saying, because I don't know if I was going in or out, but essentially he made the argument that Westerns were really not like superhero movies because they extremely low budgets. There was like a dozen studios at the time, and really like the super movies were like big budget biblical epics like The Robe or Ten Commandments or something like that, and how like that worked out, you know. So yeah, I think but there is a lot to say about the superhero genre as a whole. Um so, you know, hello. You okay?
I'm okay. I think I was talking too much. My internet died. It was
Yeah, I
like,
thought it was
calm
me
down,
because the
Dan.
thing is when my
Yeah.
internet goes out, you start like you go black, the buffering. So I thought it was me. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like not really talking. So I'm like, do
Yeah. No,
I
my
keep
my
talking?
my
Yeah, it
internet.
was okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
used to my internet going out. That's why I was like, oh shit. But anyway, we're back on track, guys. We're back
Turnabout's
on
fair
track.
play. Turnabout's fair play. It happens. Anyway, I was trying to make a point about how Star Wars could learn a thing or two about how to make the state of Star Wars today. But anyway, I digress. I was going on a big rant, and I lost my voice in the process. What were we talking about? We're talking about Superman, right? That's what we're here to talk
Yeah,
about.
we were
I'm
talking
sorry,
about
we're getting
Superman.
all sorts of
Although Lenny made
distracted.
an interesting. Honestly, I wouldn't mind a good biblical, like not like Angel Studios pandering bullshit, like what they do, like the
Yeah,
fucking Chosen and the fucking like Reagan biopic. I'm talking about like genuine, like make it a full fucking scale, like just a huge like and make it like all practical. That would be fucking awesome. Like I would love to see like a full scale like biblical epic, but yeah. I've had it with these motherfucking internet connections on this motherfucking computer.
yeah. No, perfect.
Honestly,
That's
that's how
exactly
I
it.
am. I have
Yeah,
like 17 tabs open right now, and my browser is like, "Why are you killing me?"
it's weird. My technology is having a day today, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen? By the way, the Russo brothers put out that new trailer for that Netflix movie they were working on, the Electric State or
Whoops, forgot
something.
to care.
It's got a budget of like 300 million or something. Anyway, I mean, I kind of watched it. I
It's
wasn't super impressed by it.
it's
It is what it
it's a
is.
shame because it's got Chris Pratt, it's got Kehu Kwan. I love like the vibe. I just Russo brothers have not made a good movie since the Marvel movies they made. Like, and even then, those weren't
Yeah.
that good. So like the Gray Man sucked. I heard Cherry sucked. Like it's just like guys, I think you had like one two hit wonder maybe, but outside of that, I don't think the Russo brothers are cut out for directing. Maybe they need to go back to TV. Agent Carter, Community, just do that.
Fair enough. Well, there was this other panel. Actually, not the other panel. It was the panel of the day at the New York Comic Con this week, and in fact today. Now yesterday, because on the East Coast is 1 a.m. But if you're on the West Coast, or if you're in the UK, well, if you're in the UK, it's already like way
It's
past 1
been
a.m. for you.
tomorrow. Like it's been
It's been
tomorrow for the
tomorrow.
past like
But if
5
you're on the West
hours.
Coast, it's still today. And well, today on
It's tomorrow.
Thursday, it was the Penguin took center stage at the Comic Con. It was they were at the Empire stage, I believe they call it. And essentially, we got a whole cast of the show. Pretty much everybody was there. You had, of course, Colin Farrell. You had Christian Milioti. What's the name? Why am I forgetting the name of the who plays the Maroni?
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. Sorry, brain fart. Clancy Brown was there. Of course, the actor who plays Victor Aguilar was there as well. Renzi Feliz, and Michael Kelly was there. Plays Vidi. And I mean, Lizz was in there, and of course, Lauren LeFranc was there too. Lauren LeFranc, who is the writer, the
The
showrunner
goat.
of
She's the
TV
goat
show.
of DC right
Yeah.
now.
Dude, this show is amazing. By the way, I cannot believe how good the Penguin is. It just episode 4 changed the game. I did not think this show was gonna
It's
go
so
that
funny
direction.
how like everyone was excited for Joker Folie à Deux, and then that turned
And
out to be like shit. And
then
then the
this
Penguin
show
was just
became
kind of
the
there,
yeah.
and then it turned out to just be fucking wow. Where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
Yo,
No, I
Renzi
agree with
Feliz
you.
was there too.
I agree with you 100,000%. It's just amazing to me that this show
Oh, it's
became
Liz's
what it
favorite
is.
actor, Michael Kelly.
Are you being sarcastic right now? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're being
she doesn't
sarcastic.
like him at all.
She does
She's
not
like,
like him
once
at
I
all.
see him, I know he's just get him out of here because he's gonna fucking ruin everything.
I mean, you even had Oz's mom, like Deidre O'Connell was there, so everybody from the show was there, and they talked about, of course, the process of making the show, and this has just been an amazing experience,
Yo,
and
Feliz is
it
looking
just still
fresh. Look at that.
yeah
Look at that fucking do. God damn, he's
that
looking good.
haircut is
Anyway,
nice. That haircut is nice. I will tell you that. What were your thoughts on this panel? Like the news coming out of it was, of course, like they gave us a preview of the rest of the season.
Mhm.
I personally
that
really
that
enjoyed
trailer was good.
again. I just love listening to. I can hear Colin Farrell talk about his experience on the show because he just talks about it with a sense of reverence, and he's like, I know people are gonna hate my character by the end of the show because he does some really despicable things, and
Oh, it's like almost
if
like
you
he's a
like him
villain or
now,
something. Like he's the Penguin. He's a bad guy. Like, of course
he's
he's gonna. I
right.
get what he means. Like he's gonna do some really fucked up shit, which like fair.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like, yeah, we expect this. He's the Penguin. He's a bad guy. He's
Right.
been a bad guy for decades. So like it's not
Yeah.
like totally out of nowhere.
Yep. And
Chris
there's, of
Milioti
course,
rocking. I don't know if that's a dress or like a pant thing going on, but yeah, she's rocking it.
I don't know if you would call that, but yeah. I mean, they were filming this, so I'm sure there's gonna be video of this somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's gonna
yeah.
They usually film panels, so yeah,
And
that's
then they put out the mid-season trailer. Now, actually, before we get into that, John, Lizz was there, and Lizz was talking about that they didn't play the whole episode. They didn't play episode 5, so like there were speculation: are they going to give us a full episode? Are we going to get an early look at episode 5? But considering that it airs on a Sunday, I feel like they probably didn't want to undermine that whole process. Even though to get into this panel, you would have to kind of like submit to a lottery.
I think they could have showed like maybe the first 10 minutes. You know how sometimes like movie, like how sometimes movie companies put like, oh, you can watch the first 10 minutes of Spider-Man No Way Home right now, like so they could have done that, like maybe the first like 5
But dude,
minutes.
it's one thing to do it for a movie that's like 2 hours long, and it's another for a show that's gonna have an hour-long episode to give away the first 10 minutes. Plus, dude, after what happened in episode 4, like TC's saying, I'm Team Oz all the way. There was a gang war afoot, and if it wasn't, obvious before, it's happening
a gang
now.
war is a clubbed foot.
Okay.
It is not just a foot; it is a clubbed foot.
Clever. By the way, these photos are from Lizz. She was at the panel and she loved her time there. Just getting to hear Kristen Milioti, Colin Farrell all talking about the show. Of course, they shot a lot of the Penguin in New York City, and they use one of the production grants, or the tax credits program. And it's a show that really embraces his identity as being this Gotham City is a surrogate for New York City. Even though in the world of this movie of the Batman, Gotham is in New Jersey, they shot a lot of it,
which makes more sense.
It makes
because
sense.
New Jersey is like the shitty version of New York, and so it makes sense that Gotham is a shit
because in the
city.
Comics, it's based on like Newark, right? Like in Newark. If you guys are from the Northeast of the United States, Newark historically is, of course, that's where The Sopranos takes place, right? Like it's known for that kind of thing. So, or historically speaking, at least. Ron saying, in my opinion, religion should only be banned for. Wait, what are you guys talking about in the chat? Never mind.
Because I mentioned biblical epics, and so now the chat's about religion.
Okay,
my bad.
Casey's saying 10 minutes is half an episode. Well, no, Casey. In Agatha All Along, it might be 10 minutes is half the episode.
Yeah, and that
these Penguin episodes are like an hour long, and they give you a proper episode. Like they give you a full episode. That's what I love about this show. Is we might be only getting 8 episodes, but the premiere episode was like almost 90 minutes, and every episode since has been a solid hour because they're giving you a full episode of a TV show, not something that is only there for. I think the not this last episode, but the one before it for Agatha All Along was only 31 minutes, including credits. So I'm like, without credits, it was like probably 23, 24 minutes. Like that's like, am I watching a sitcom or am I watching like an hour long, drama? Like it just, and then the next episode is the one from this week was 50 minutes. So I'm like, what? It just feels like whiplash, particularly when you're releasing it week to week, because because in one week you're gonna be like, oh my god, this episode is dragging just because it's twice as long, and the other week you're like, whoa, it just started like 5 minutes ago. The Penguin, on the other hand, you get like 50, 55 minutes, an hour. So it's much better, and they do so much in each episode that literally this feels like we're watching a long movie that can go on for, I don't know, it's gonna go on for like
I mean, it's a
4
mini
weeks.
series. That's what essentially
Yeah, exactly.
it is. It's a long
It's
movie.
made by people who know how to do TV, right? Like,
and
that's
it's
what,
made
and I
by
love
people
that.
who know how to fucking tell a story properly.
Yeah.
Because I swear to God, like as we kept talking about with with me and Bridget and Liz the other day, it was essentially like if this in a lesser show with a lesser showrunner, this would have been like the end of the season, and there would have been massive amounts of filler. Like this would have this in a lesser show, this would have been the season finale, and they would have stretched this thing for like 3, 4, 5 seasons. But no, it's like, no, we're getting this now. Like immediately, she's like, I don't trust this guy. We're gonna go fucking all out war. Fuck the Penguin. Fuck us. We're not dealing with this motherfucker anymore. We are gonna fucking take Gotham back, and I'm gonna fucking murder anybody in my fucking way right now. And this is just 4 episodes in, but it doesn't feel rushed. That's also the key.
It doesn't.
It's like
Not
a
at all.
perfect, like every step, everything is methodical. Like it just obviously like don't have an episode 2. But the thing is that what they did is like, okay, you had the episode 1, and then you had episode 2 with like continuation, all that stuff, and then you had like a Victor Aguilar episode, but it still progressed. Same with episode 4, it focused on Sophia, but it still progressed. And now we're getting to the, as I kept saying, the midpoint. You gotta have a good midpoint, and we had a motherfucking midpoint. We had that. It's like, yeah, that's the type of fucking midpoint I want to goddamn see in a miniseries. So Matt Reeves confirmed that we're not getting that.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah.
He ripped.
And by the way, I mentioned in the chat, guys, like let's keep let's keep religion and politics talk out of. Like, we're here to talk about comics, right? Like that's, and I know that sometimes they comment on that stuff, but let's keep it limited to like we're talking about DC, like because I don't want the chat to become like a toxic place where we're just constantly arguing, right? And I appreciate that you guys are having a productive conversation. But let's talk about the Penguin, dude. Like I am so excited to see where the show goes from here. Yeah, like the Watcher, I agree with you. I mean, we get enough politics in our day to day. It's an election year in the U.S.
Yeah,
so,
let's not talk about. Sorry for bringing it up. It was just watch Eyebrow Cinema's video. It's a very good video on like superheroes and westerns. So I apologize, but let's move on. So
yeah, and then Lenny agreeing.
Yeah,
beautifully paced. Like this show is very, very well made. And Temple
like
saying he said,
and at the same time, it's funny. Yeah, no, the Bruce Wayne thing. Yes. Yeah, I don't think we're. He said Bruce Wayne. I kind of trust Matt Reeves. I don't think we're gonna get anything. I don't think we're gonna get Batman or Bruce Wayne. But the thing is, it's one of those cases where it's like, okay, we got to think about like season 2. I kind of don't want a season 2. Because I feel like if they do a season 2, they're going to run it into the ground. I feel like it should stay a mini series, and it's just like, okay, that's all we get. And then we'll get like a Catwoman mini series, and then we'll get this mini series, and then we'll get like this kind of, like I say, keep mini series. And if you want to do a show, like really like do a show, like really like build, like you got to make sure it's like about something big, like Gotham PD or Arkham. Those would make good shows, not miniseries. So I think Hugo Strange, especially if it's if the theory is confirmed that Theo Rossi is like Hugo Strange under a different name, then I'm into it. I'm into it.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, they're building him up. I just don't know if his character is even going to survive this show. He's a little too close to a fairly unhinged Sofia Falcone to maybe survive all the way to the end. I don't know. I wonder if he's going to make it all the way to the end of the show. Temple saying, if we get a Hugo Strange show about him in Arkham, would you all want it to be in the past or in between the Batman films? Well, I mean, the past, they've already shown the flashbacks, right? Like I mean, you want to go further back into the past? Like, he doesn't look like he's a older gentleman, right? Like, I'm like, how long do you think he's worked at Arkham? I don't know if that would be the way to go. I'd imagine if they did it, they should do something that's more in the present. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I'm curious. Theo Rossi's 50. Oh my god, he's 50. He's 49 years old.
He doesn't.
He looks great. He looks. I thought he was in his 30s. Yeah,
dude, exactly. Yeah,
I thought he was in his late 20s. Yes. The man looks. I guess brown don't crack either. Like, goddamn. But like, yeah, I think he. Like everybody except white people, they don't crack. We crack. I crack. I'm cracking right now. Like, you can probably hear the bones cracking. But I think, yeah, if Theo Rossi is Hugo Strange, if that's the case, you could, yeah, I mean, he's 49. I mean, you could make like he maybe was in Arkham for like a decade. And the thing is, maybe he had like a chip on his shoulder. He never got to be like the head doctor. He's like, even though I'm like, oh, I'm a genius, but never got that point. And the Ventress, whatever that guy's name was, he, was always the doctor. So like that could be an interesting thing.
That would be interesting. I mean, look, they can also fit him into the Arkham show, like right, like it doesn't need to be its own
exactly,
show, like,
Lenny,
right?
exactly.
So, yeah, they are still evolving, as Matt Reeves said, the concept that they had initially pitched, which was HBO basically said, keep working on it, this isn't good enough. They gave the green light to the Green Lantern show, but not Arkham Asylum. They were like, we need more key characters. And if they're going off of like what they did with the Penguin and the Batman, if Hugo's, again, we don't know if he is Hugo Strange. We don't know that. But if he is indeed Hugo Strange, and that's where they're going with this, then maybe what they did with the Penguin with Oz Cobb in the Batman is what they're doing with him here with the Hugo Strange character. Then that would be a good jumping off point for a spinoff, which would kind of check that box for the HBO executives who were like, focus on well-known characters, these characters that will draw an audience. And clearly the Penguin draws an audience. So I'm sure Hugo Strange would as well, as long as people are like, oh, I saw him in that other show. So they already know he exists. It's kind of like when they introduced Black Panther in Civil War, then, we knew he was getting his own movie. But to everybody who was not a super Marvel fan was like, oh, he's from that movie, right? Like, because they didn't watch all the Comic-Con announcements with Chadwick Boseman. So it makes sense. I think that makes sense. But Lenny's saying, but the Batman 2 is the next film, and then a spinoff again, and then the Batman Part 3. Right. So they have said that they're going to try to do this cadence of one movie, spinoff. I mean, they haven't said that explicitly, but that seems to be
that's
the
implied.
implication.
It's implied.
Yeah. Lenny, don't leave us. Oh, she's like, it's too. We're not. We're. Are we too weird for you? Come on, man. We love you. We love you, Lenny. You can hang out. Let's be welcoming to everybody in the chat, guys. We're all here to talk movies.
We all appreciate you, Lenny.
Exactly.
We do.
The Watcher saying, seems like to me Arkham is controlled by a certain court of pesky birds to make these in concert. Oh, you just deleted your message. Never mind. Casey saying, I always remember that we got a Penguin show before Question because of corporate greed isn't the reason. Dude, most people after they watched the Batman were like, we should have gotten more of the Penguin because he was so much fun to watch. So I just think it was like popular demand almost as much as it's going to make money because people want to see more of the Penguin. But the Question, on the other hand, is we're going to get the Question, whether it's in the DCU or not. That character is too good to not adapt to live action. James Gunn knows that, and I'm sure he will find a filmmaker who's gonna do a good job with that character. So yeah, we will get there. Oh, Michael K. Hello, Michael K. Were you here earlier? I feel like you
My
were earlier.
cocaine.
Yeah, I think you dropped by earlier and then you headed out, but welcome back into the chat. Um, Lenny was weirder than before. She could stay. I don't get it. LOL. Oh, okay. Sorry. Well, Temple, I mean, maybe Lenny will stop back. Um, oh, she was weirder before. Now, not that she was weird. Okay. Fair enough. Yes. There's no Fiona in the chat. So, Lenny was uh, maybe thrown off by that. Batman and Robin was a perfect example of, okay, that's a good example, Ron. Batman and Robin was corporate greed. Like they were basically trying to sell merchandise and toys with that movie, not trying to tell a good story. I still had fun with it because I just think Arnold Schwarzenegger just had fun with it, and that's enough for me. But I digress. John, let's before we finish up, I did want to go through this mid-season trailer for the Penguin, and so spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't caught up to episode 4 of the Penguin.
Right.
Just saying that right now because you might see some spoilers here. We're not gonna watch the trailer. We're just gonna kind of skip through it and take a look at some of the stills. I just look at some of these scenes here, and it's almost like they're doing a mixture of miniatures with VFX with real live action plate photography from actual New York and mixing it all together. And it looks just great. Like this shot right here, pause,
Chef's
looks like
kiss.
it could be miniatures, right? And Christopher Nolan did it with a lot of the Dark Knight trilogy, and I love it. I just love the look of the city so far in this show, and it
Mhm.
feels like it ties in directly to the Batman visually. But as far as the story, John, the dynamic of the Penguin has now basically become that it's a three-way war. There are the Falcones, which is now headed up by Sophia Falcone because she killed the rest of them. At least
Johnny Viti's still
the
alive.
leaders. Well, Johnny Vitti she kept around because he's gonna be helpful, I suppose. How we're gonna find out. Then there's of course the Maronis. You see right there, Shirley Agdashlu and then Clancy Brown playing the Maronis. He fell in love with this Persian woman, and so it's like the Persian mob essentially, which is a very interesting take. We've never seen that before, and I love it. And she was in The Expanse. I loved her in that show.
Yeah, she's been
And
in a lot of stuff. I've seen her in a
yeah,
bunch of things.
and
She's very
then
good.
the third, big party in this war is basically Oscobb. Now that Sophia's like, I know what you did, and I'm coming after you. You're gonna die. You're gonna pay for your sins, and so he can't really, play that double, agent game anymore. So he's essentially appealing to all the like the guys in the street. The streets are talking. Who's in charge? Why not us? Like that's the world's not built for guys like us. We're gonna take what we want, right? Like so he's now selling that shtick to all the lower level people I'm guessing the crew that he works with. So John, who do you think is gonna come out on top? Or do you have any guesses so far? Or
I hope
the
it's the
Maronis,
guy that the show
Falcones?
is named after.
But the question is, a lot of people are speculating: will this gang war even be over by the end of the show? Do you think like when we get to the Batman 2, that this gang war is where we start things off, and maybe that's how we get into the Court of Owls? Like, how do you think that's going to play out? Because the Penguin could end with him on top, but maybe it just ends with like we were at a stalemate or something is going to thrust us from this show into the movie, but it doesn't have to be that Penguin becomes a kingpin of Gotham is what I'm trying to say, right?
Mhm.
So but what are your thoughts on this? Like where do you think we're going next? Who do you think gets the next upper hand? Because right now, if you're looking at who's trending up and who's trending down, I would say that the Penguin and the Maronis are trending down and Falcones are shooting up because what Sophia has done. So where do you think things will go in episode 5?
I mean, I think we're gonna, now we're kind of getting into the second half of Act 2, quote unquote. And we're gonna see like kind of that dark night of the soul kind of thing where we really see the Penguin kind of go down, keep going down until he like rises up. He's gonna, look at death in the face and then really fucking kick it into gear if we're going by the, 3-act structure, but in a mini series form.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what we're gonna be getting.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also fascinated by the Carmen Ejogo's character here, who Penguin sort of has a ongoing fling with in the show.
Mhm.
And I agree with you, Casey. Best DC show ever. I'm really loving the Penguin, but it seems like she betrays him. Like, do you think she gives him up, like, or she's the one who gave up the idea that she was covering for him, the alibi, and that's how Sophia Falcone found? Like, I'm interested in seeing how that plays out, right? Because part of this whole situation is going to be this whole war is the Penguin has built up this circle of trust around him, and it seems like some of that is starting to fray, and maybe for reasons that he didn't expect, right? And there's a soundbite in this trailer where he's like, "Kid, I know you want to be part of the action, but you're like the only one that I trust, right?" Like Victor Aguilar. So I look at that and I'm like, okay, so this
And then he was also like, I made a promise.
Yeah.
So I think his mom is going to die soon, if I were to guess. I mean, they
Well,
said
it's
that the
also-
dementia was getting worse. So
Yeah, I mean, his mom is like his biggest motivation in the show. That's like the one. I guess that's the one of his very few redeeming qualities is he's driven by the fact that he loves his mom and what she expects of him. Which I mean, I feel like for any good son, that's a good thing. That's a good trait, even though he goes about it in all the most despicable ways in terms of what he's doing. But I do wonder if, like you said, his mom's going to survive the show because it seems like that dementia is progressing faster and faster. So, with all that said, this noose around the Penguin's head about Oscobb is tightening up. Do you really think that Sophia's going to be able to turn everybody, around Oz against him? Like, because it could be that this show ends up being like more of a tragedy than like a success story for the Penguin. Like I'm after episode 4, I do wonder if that's where we're going, right? Because one of you guys in the chat mentioned yesterday, and I think we're gonna get into your comments later. And when you guys were talking about how maybe Sophia Falcone could be like what leads us into the Court of Owls in the movie with the Batman, like with the Batman
maybe.
2. So I would be very interested in seeing how that all plays out. There's also, of course, all the personal story of who Victor is and how this new life is affecting him. I love in this trailer at the beginning he's riding his bike in a tunnel, which is an immediate callback to like the way that the Batman starts, right? So I'm like, are they hinting at something here? I was kind of excited that he's bringing his inner Bruce Wayne out a little bit with like the emo vibe that we got in the movie. Like I'm like, you could start playing Nirvana in my mind right now. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
It's
although
adding
I
up.
will say this looks like, Victor, like he turns a corner and like his house is on fire. So Sophia
Mhm.
might fucking kill Oz's mom. She might do that.
Dude, there's an explosion in this trailer, and then Oz is there in the debris. We have seen the behind the scenes photos of this when they were filming the show, and I was always wondering how that's going to factor into the show. And now I'm like wondering if that, like you said, if that means the block that his mom lives on is going to get like blown up to all high hell, because holy shit, that would be another huge escalation. Like that's one of those, like that's essentially like what it felt like watching The Dark Knight, right? Like the moment you think something big is happened and you have a moment to breathe, something else happens. Like the judge gets poisoned and the car blows up, and all of a sudden the joke, there's a funeral and the Joker shoots at Commissioner Gordon and Commissioner Gordon is dead, and then we keep going and going and going. I'm starting to really get, even though this is a TV show, I'm starting to get a sense that that's the kind of pacing this show is going to have.
Yeah.
And I love it. I mean, and it's also just a turn of Kirsten Milioti to the dark side. It seems like
Yeah,
it's all but complete at this point.
I feel
So,
like, yeah, there's also, because the thing is, I believe that Oz didn't do anything to lock her up. I think she finds out that he killed Alberto, because there's no way that she would be this fucking pissed and this
Oh.
ready to
no, she says
fucking
it.
murder
Dude, in this
him.
trailer, yes. He's like,
Because
Oz
like
is
it's
gonna
like one
pay
thing,
for
like,
what he
okay,
did.
you put me away. She was like,
Right.
I know what you did, but even then she was
Yes.
like, I know what you did, and then Penguin's like, I'm sorry for telling Carmine Falcone, because it led you to there, but I didn't fucking rat you out and I didn't make you the hangman, all that shit. And she's like, all right. And it was like kind of like okay,
Mhm.
but the fact that she's like this fucking pissed now, and who knows when that it could, because it says just the weeks ahead. It could maybe not be the next episode. It might be like a episode 6 or 7 where she finds out
Right.
and then full on war. Because remember, this isn't just for episode 5. This is for the rest of the
It's for the rest
season.
of the season.
So it
Right.
could be any episode where like all this shit is going down. So who the fuck knows? So I don't think she finds out about Alberto next. I think she finds out. I don't think she finds out next episode. I think she finds out maybe at the end of episode 6, because then that would mean episode 7 and 8 are the third act where things really fucking get in. Like, look at that. Like, really fucking get into gear.
Everybody's shooting their guns.
Yeah. So I don't think she totally hates Oz now, but when she finds out, yeah.
Shit's starting to go sideways. Things are blowing up. There's planes involved. There's planes. Oh, look at that. That's Clancy Brown right there, man. He's getting his hands on the sly bastard that is the Penguin. That's been coming his way since the very first episode. I'm like,
oh yeah,
he's got
hell
it coming.
yeah,
he's got it coming. TC24, Vic's about to catch some bodies. Yeah, he shoots his gun. I don't know at who or what, but yeah, it looks like he's gonna get in on the action eventually. So yes, there was an intentional change for a reason. Oh, okay. They changed the name to time with the Talons. One of the okay. So yes, Cobb, right? Oz Cobb. You know, I'm not 100% there yet with the whole idea that Oz Cobb means that he's tied with William Cobb and that he that's how we're gonna tie into the Court of Owls, because in the show so far we know that he comes from poverty more than privilege. This version of Oz Cobb, but it could be different. I mean, who was his father? Like, what was that part of the family? Like, does his mom hate the Falcones for a very specific reason? Did they get banished from the family? Were they a rival family? I don't know. There's secrets yet to be told, and maybe that's what we're gonna get in the rest of the season. Temple saying, honestly, if anything, Court of Owls would make more sense in DCU rather than this. If you get them, they'd probably either make Talons lame, or not even add them since they're trying to be realistic. You can do it like with the Winter Soldier, with Captain America Civil War. They definitely tried to pull off the whole like brainwashing thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just brainwashing. You could just do that, or it's just like they're just assassins. Like they're brainwashed assassins, but you could just make them assassins. Like that's not totally out there. So yeah, I think that could work in like a realistic, grounded setting. It's Dan trying to say Talon. It's Talon.
Talon.
Yeah,
somebody
Talon.
correct me.
Because Casey is like, what's a Talon?
Talon? What's Talon? Dude, I don't know. Talon. Is that how you say it? Okay,
whatever. It's Talon. It's like an owl. They have talons, so it's a Talon. Yeah.
The Watcher saying Court of Owls fits in both really well. Court of Owls would fit also in Reeves. It's just gonna be more grounded. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of like Assassin's Creed, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. Do the turkeys have large talons? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Magical Sky Wizard. That you're asking all the right questions today. It is going to be interesting to see though just how far Victor Aguilar goes down the dark side, right?
And then when he gets fucking murdered, I'm curious who kills him. Like, I think Sophia fucking kills him.
I think he's making it through the show. I don't think he dies. I personally
don't. It would be so easy to.
But like this show hasn't exactly taken the easy way out at any corner they've painted themselves.
I know, but it's like it's so obvious because like that would be the ultimate dark turn for Penguin. And the thing is, like, nobody wants to see like when he becomes like that Scarface of Gotham type of shit. No way he's gonna like want this fucking kid around. Like,
you know what? If they really want him to be completely non-redeemable, like he's like, fuck this guy, he deserves to die. Like, the moment that you kill John Wick's dog, that would be that moment for me if the Penguin does kill Victor eventually. Like,
it would be even more.
If he dies, he better go out like Rambo, says TC24. That would be fun. I would love that. I would love that.
I don't
like Rambo.
or Sophia fucking kills Victor. That would be something.
I feel like she would try to turn him to her.
That's what it
side when she
sounded like
kills
in the
him,
trailer, not gonna lie.
right?
It sounded like she was
Yeah.
getting like,
She's trying to
"Hey,
recruit.
Victor,
She's like,
come to the dark side. We have cookies."
yeah.
Like, that's
Mhm.
the vibe I was kind of getting a little bit.
Yep. Yep. I wish the Magical Sky Wizard saying, "I wish the Penguin was more like the Book of Boba Fett. He's too mean." Okay, we're starting to get delirious in the chat here. I do not want it to be like the Book of Boba Fett. I don't think that's a good idea. I am Boba Fett. No, I don't want that. I am Oscob. No, let's not do that, shall we? I'm interested in seeing this relationship fall apart though, because this seems like it's a big shock to him, right? Like, I mean, I guess that's what you get for trusting somebody like that. Anyway, I'm not gonna get too deep into that whole thing, but it just seems like that was gonna be one of the relationships that was gonna fall apart first, and it looks like she gave him up, and he's not happy about that. But yeah, Sophia's coming after Oz, and Oz is still after power. So I'm excited to see where the show goes because we thought there was a gang war after episode 1, but it's really on now. It's full on going on down.
It's
So I'm
on
excited for that. It's on exactly. It's definitely on. By the way, they keep releasing these posters. It just looks like a weird.
It
Is it
looks like
AI?
somebody's trying to do
I
like
don't
a
know.
GTA image, but it like fails
Yeah.
miserably.
And we got like the one for Victor Aguilar weeks ago, and then now we got this one. I mean, I don't know.
They
Okay,
just don't look right. Like I like
But I
the
think they don't
I
look
do
right on
wait, hang on.
purpose.
I like the how the
Yeah.
handcuff is now is a noose in the shadow. I will say that's kind of cool.
That
But
is cool. She's the hangman. Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, she's not actually the
Clever.
hangman. Her dad's the hangman,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
But I think I mean that's kind of cool, but like yeah, I think these are not that like I don't want to be sound mean to the artists. I mean sure they do a good job. It's just they don't look right to me. They look kind of off, you know? Like
Yeah.
yeah, like see you Space Cowboy. There's something just off about these, yeah.
Yes. No, I agree. And I think that's the point. That is the point of these. Well, yes, Temple. Colin Farrell did say, and he has reiterated again today, I believe at the Comic Con, to some not in the same exact words, but that yeah, if you have any sense of remorse for the Penguin, you're not gonna have that after episode 8 because it seems like he does something really like to the point where he was like there was a really dark gloom like atmosphere over the set on one of the days he was filming because of like what his character does in the show, and it just he needed to
Right.
like go and watch like a sitcom or something to kind of brighten his mood, which I get it, man. Like this show gets dark. It's already gone really dark. Like holy shit, she gassed her whole family in the last episode. So I mean, like where do we go from here? But John, you know where we're gonna go from here? We're gonna get into your comments, guys, in the chat. We know
Yeah.
Ron had to leave,
And then I will go immediately
Lenny
to
had
sleep after
leave.
we're done.
Yes, we will all go to sleep. Temple saying, "Hell, Oz is confirmed to appear in Batman 2, so he definitely doesn't die." Right, we know that. Yes, exactly.
I know that and you know that.
Yeah, and the Watcher is agreeing with you that the big death of the show will be Wick. I still don't want it to be. I don't want it to be.
You don't want it to be, but there's a difference in terms of want and
I
need.
know, but I'm gonna hold on to that hope. It's like I'm doing the exact opposite for Guy Gardner. I know
It'd be
he's biting the
really
dust,
fucked up.
so.
Like Sophia gets him on her side, and then when he's outlived his use, then she fucking kills him.
God, dude, it's
that
like,
would be a twofer.
Now you're getting into this Joker Folly Ado territory. Let's just not like.
Okay, well, yeah, because Joker Folly Ado was great, so that's perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a sad story. Anyway, let's talk about something a little bit brighter. Let's talk about the comments from you guys in the chat. The Watcher, you're watching, and we are watching, and you're watching, and let's talk about a comment that you left us the other day on yesterday's show. We were talking about Crypto, the alien dog, as James Gunn clarified. So you mentioned Crypto will have powers because we saw him with heat vision with Mr. Terrific in the set photos from this summer. Yes, we did talk about that. Absolutely, we did see photos of Mr. Terrific trying to feed dog treats to some imaginary creature, which I'm sure might be added in CGI in post-production. So the Watcher continues saying, I also love that he's a scrappy dog, which is actually comic accurate. He's been that size in the comics, I believe, in the 70s. So this version is straight out of the Silver Age / Copper Age. I love it. It's wholesome. And then you continue on to say that now don't get me wrong, I love my edgy stuff, but we have a lot of that all the time already. Yeah, Snyder fanboys. I mean, you know what? I'm a Snyder fanboy, but I will love this.
You're not a
I'm looking forward
fanboy.
to
You're
it.
not that. You're not an asshole.
Okay, I
So
see
you're
what
not
you
a
mean,
fanboy.
though.
You're a
That's
Snyder
fair.
fan. There's a difference.
I'm a Snyder fan. That's fair. Okay. All right, getting back to the comment. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my edgy stuff, but we have a lot of that all the time already. This is something different, and it's nice to have something different. And this is so comic accurate. It's awesome. Superman 2025, Gunn's the GOAT, by the way. Gunn also said that Crypto will be a sometimes bad, sometimes good boy, lol. Like heat visioning Mr. Terrific's foot, for example, might get him in the naughty list. Yeah, you know what? He did mention that. He did specifically mention he's a not so good all the time boy, which makes sense, and it will probably make him more endearing because maybe Crypto has feelings too. He's got him. Dogs are very emotionally intelligent, so I can only imagine that Crypto will be the same. John, what do you think about the idea that again it's not like they're going with a Crypto that is not comic accurate. In fact, he is literally exactly almost pulled from the comic books from the Silver
Yep.
Age directly. So, and I know the secret pets, the super pet, the what is not the secret life of pets, but the DC League of Super Pets had a very different breed of dog
Yeah.
for
I mean,
Crypto,
yeah,
but
as James Gunn said, he's kind of been different. Like seen
yeah.
as a lab, seen as a husky. In I
Mhm.
don't know. I think in Titans, he was just kind of a mutt. He was just a white mutt,
Yeah.
which makes sense because he was a creation of Cadmus in that rather
Right.
than you know than just an alien dog. So I mean, I liked him there. I love that. I thought that was the most perfect look for Krypton. Like that was the problem with Titans. A lot of that show, like they had the most perfect casting, the perfect look for a lot of these characters, and then the writing was just fucking garbage. It was the worst. It just fuck Batman. Like it just.
Let's not talk about that. I'm kind of over it, man. I'm trying to forget that
Yeah.
whole thing. It's been a while. Don't bring it back. Temple saying we can all agree that Guy Gardner sucks, so Crypto could be a bad boy and shoot the guy's leg.
Hey, I like Guy Gardner. Shut up.
I know that's the reaction. Okay, the Watcher saying emerging awesome also pulled up the picture of this version of Crypto in his recent video. Yes, he did. Yes, I did see that little bit of that.
Mhm.
Yeah, the DCU can be grounded, but it can also be fantastical. I think the DCU is kind of not going to be like
It
the
can be a little
MCU,
bit of
but
everything.
like the MCU has the Winter Soldier, but then you also have Guardians of the Galaxy. Like you can have it all. Emergency awesome, right? I know the channel you're talking about, The Watcher. Batman is a fascist. I did love that. Bring George Lopez back when you bring Blue Beetle back. I love it. I love that character. TC's 24 saying I want the Fortress of Solitude to have a whole petting zoo of intergalactic animals. Maybe not in the first movie, but yes, maybe we'll get there eventually. I wouldn't mind. That would be like a Men in Black kind of move, and I don't know if that's what they're going for here. But let's get to the next comment, John. We've got this one from Steven Anderson, 9652. A much shorter comment than the last one, but and a great one nonetheless. Steven usually watches the show and then comments as he goes along. So we get him in like these small, bite-sized pieces. So he was watching the show from yesterday and he mentioned, John, I hate to put this out there, bro, but what do you think if Ultraman was actually Jor-El under the mask? John.
That would be the fucking dumbest thing. It's not. I mean, it now because that's what happened in Rebirth. Because Brian Michael Bendis is a fucking idiot. But Brian Michael Bendis isn't the terrible Marvel turned DC writer that for some reason James Gunn likes. So I don't think they're gonna do that because that would just be really fucking stupid. And like, and why would Jor-El work for like Lex Luthor? Like that just doesn't make sense. Like why? I understand like Jor-El, they like tried to do something with that in like the Rebirth comics. It failed and it sucked. But yeah, it just no. I don't think that's happening. That's just too. That's
TC24 being
too
like,
stupid. I
yeah,
mean, maybe
tell him
if
how you
Tom King
really
was
feel,
writing
John.
Superman, I'd be like, oh yeah, that could happen. But I don't think. I don't think they're gonna do that.
I also like Man, Temple is everybody's getting into their like late night hour at this point. So, God.
I mean, it
Okay.
depends who is playing Ivy.
Uh,
Like, if it's Karen Gillan, then that's
okay,
fair.
John. Yeah, I'll refer to TC's comment from earlier. All right, let's get into the last comment of the day that we have to feature here today. But we'll have more in the in the next
Temple's
show.
still reminding us. Yes, we'll make the damn Discord server. You know what? We'll make it tomorrow. Boom,
Yes,
there
we
we
will.
go.
Yes, you know what? It's the weekend's coming up. We got some free time on our hands, John. We will definitely
We'll
get
do
into
it.
it. We will get into it. But in the meantime, we have a comment from Miraculous. Miraculous, I know you were in the chat earlier. I don't know if you're still watching, but you watched our episode from a few days ago where we were talking about initially the announcement from James Gunn that crypto is going to be in the movie in Superman next year, and you had these thoughts because we were kind of bouncing around a few different things. So the idea of, well, James Gunn clarifying that just because a project was announced doesn't mean it's happening, but that isn't it, but that it is still in development. So it's not a guarantee, but the fact that they're still working on it is it's still true. So you said to that whole idea that very few official announcements have been made regarding any new projects since that initial Gods and Monsters slate announcement was made 2 years ago. It's pretty clear that Gunn, as part of being hired by Zaslav, was tasked with planning a slate and announcing it to build hype for the future of DC and DC Studios. That's why that first slate was announced that way. Since then, what if any new projects have been officially announced? Only the Dynamic Duo movie, that's which Gunn has said was a good script, and the Blue Beetle animated series that's in development. Every other supposed new project has either been an unconfirmed rumor or leak. I should say that again, an unconfirmed rumor or leak that Gunn has not officially announced, which includes the Teen Titans script. That's true. That wasn't officially announced by James Gunn. The supposed Bane Deathstroke script. That Bane Deathstroke script is also an insider report. It wasn't officially announced by James Gunn. And the rumored Deadman animated series, which James Gunn posted a couple of images, but he never specified what that meant. So unfortunately, too many people treat these rumors or leaks like there are quote unquote
They're
announcements.
gospel, yeah.
Right.
And it's
What
not.
do you think about that? I mean, I agree with Miraculous, right? Like a lot of these things were not officially announced by James Gunn. In fact, I remember when he announced that we got our Jon Stewart, that it's going to be Aaron Pierre. It was the same day that he announced that he also revealed. And I know you guys have been asking about this for a long time, but now I can tell you it's confirmed, and then in parentheses, and only just confirmed that Kyle Chandler is our Hal Jordan. So if you're going by what's officially canon in the James Gunn universe, like in terms of what he has said in James Gunn's timeline, the Hal Jordan announcement actually came after the Jon Stewart announcement, because that's when he confirmed it, and saying only just now confirmed, meaning that they were probably still crossing off their T's and dotting their I's in the contracts, and he does not want to confirm anything until everything is squared away, which makes sense. I mean, and I feel like that's exactly what Miraculous is saying here. A lot of these other projects, we know that the Teen Titans script is being written by Ana Negreira, but we don't know if it's going to get greenlit. And until it's greenlit, it doesn't mean it's happening. Like, they could make a great script, and then Warner Brothers, or not Warner Brothers, but DC Studios could say, no, we're not going to work on this, and James Gunn and Peter Safran could take a pass, and that could be that. Or they could say, you know what, get this into production. But until they get to that point, it's still in development. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And I think that's what Miraculous is trying to say there too. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we're going to be getting like so much stuff, because that just doesn't make sense, and that's not what James Gunn, I feel like, wants to do. Again, not doing it the Marvel way, kind of what we've been saying for a while now. So, and yeah, people got to stop treating things like announcements. That's just not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, we get excited, we jump the gun, but and all that. But I think, yeah, we got to take a step back, because there's so many people, oh, treat it like gospel. That's what I was saying before. It's like, well, it's not confirmed that crypto is in the movie. It was just a rumor. And then we got those images of Mr. Terrific, like dealing with the dogs. I'm like, well, they just fucking filmed near a pet store. So that might not be the case. So, but now it is confirmed. That's like, okay, I was wrong. But like, I wanted to step back and be like, okay, it's not confirmed yet. But we just, report on all this stuff. Just try to get the best information for you guys. But yeah, don't take everything as gospel unless it comes from the man himself. which isn't a
We
ton.
always specify, right? Like that.
Yeah,
There's
take it with a big grain of salt.
Exactly. Yeah. Casey asking you, what are your biggest concerns for the DCU? Well, I mean, right now I'm concerned that if Superman doesn't make a ton of money, if it's a big flop, or if people don't receive it very well, like what happened with Man of Steel, that's going to create problems for the other DCU projects to come after that. But I mean, the rest, I mean, it's a big question. You know, we'll get into more of that later. But yeah, that would be my immediate concern. John, do you have any big concerns about the DCU so far? Or is it too early to really be thinking about that kind of
Yeah, I think it's just I mean, I have some concerns like like mainly like nitpick stuff. I think the biggest concern I have is like James Gunn goes a little bit too James Gunny a little bit. Like he puts a little bit too much humor. It becomes a little bit
Yeah.
too Guardians. He promised that, but you can only say so much. So it's like, he said he wouldn't, but who knows? Then you have I know I keep going like, but in all seriousness, like stepping back, I am genuinely worried about Tom King being a huge part of this universe. I just don't like. I know. I keep going on and on about it, but I will mention
No,
this.
but I get it. Like he's part of the writing room, not just for Lanterns, but he's part of the brain trust of James Gunn. Like he was
Yeah,
in that writers' retreat when they made their big plans
as well
last
as
year. So
Christina Hodson, who
right,
the only thing she like all the movies she's written have not been good. The only one that did got script doctored by Kelly Fremon Craig, who worked on Edge of 17. Great movie, by the way. And so
I love that movie.
it was the Bumblebee movie, and so Kelly Fremon Craig did do script rewrites,
Right.
and so that I think is the only reason why Bumblebee was any good, and Birds of Prey was not good, and The Flash was not good. So I don't trust Christina Hodson either. So
Yeah.
it just feels, and then as well as like it's like on the one hand, James Gunn is making really fucking good decisions, but then he makes really fucking dumb decisions. Like, Tom King, Andy Muschietti, Christina Hodson, a script, like script, like um script writer that has only a play to her name. Like, I understand she might be the fucking greatest writer. That
Yeah.
doesn't put a lot of trust in me because I have nothing to reference and I can't go out of my like.
That's fair.
For
It's
instance,
fair.
like Millie Alcock, like, oh, I don't have a personal reference, but I could go out and watch her shows and the few movies she's done to get a style of her acting. I could watch House of the Dragon. I could watch anything else. Like she was in a couple Australian TV shows. I could go like Anna Neguera has a play that unless you go to that play on off Broadway or wherever it was, then you have no like frame of reference for this. I'm not saying she's bad, but I'm not saying she's good either. So like it could be anything. It's a total crapshoot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like concerns with that, like the writing part,
But
who he's hired.
yeah,
So
but
Craig
here's the
Gillespie
thing about that.
doesn't,
Yes.
give me any high hopes either. Like, yeah, he made I,
He
Tonya.
can be hit or miss. Right. Exactly.
But
I mean,
those are the
but
main
that
things.
did
Like
get Margot
a
Robbie
couple
an
of those
Oscar
nitpick
nomination.
kind of decisions,
Yes.
I guess.
It's fair. But look, Marvel has made a many a billions of dollars out of bringing people in who weren't very well-known storytellers, or at least not on the level of the MCU, and they turned them into household names, like the Russo brothers, for example, right? They were television directors. Like we have seen actors like Chris Evans, and even RDJ, Robert Downey Jr. completely revive his career. I mean, he was a great actor even before then, so it wasn't that. But I mean, we have seen that people can break through if you have a really good story you want to tell. If you're a good storyteller, if that's your first project, it puts a lot more pressure on you, but it doesn't mean you can't succeed. So I'm gonna keep my faith in James Gunn and trust that he's making the right decisions. And the first time that decision making power that he has got gets put to the test is with Gucci Commandos, and he's gonna be here in less than 2 days time. It's less than 48 hours. It's like 36 hours away now, pretty much, that James Gunn is gonna step on the panel on the stage at the Empire stage at New York Comic Con this Saturday, and we're going to talk about it and all the news and announcements they make, any and all questions that James Gunn answers, any new details, any surprises, everything that all the other cast members of Creature Commandos talk about on Saturday. We'll be back on Monday to talk about that. But Today is Friday, so we'll be back later today. Oh, it's already Friday for us here when we're still live. So we'll be back later today on Friday for another episode of DCU Daily. Talk about what else
Indeed.
is happening in the world of DC. But before you guys leave, hit that like button on your way out if you love the show. We really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, then hit the subscribe button so you can get all the latest updates on when we have a new video going up. And if you like watching us live, then hit that notification bell because that will tell you when we have a new live show. We usually are live pretty late in the night as we are right now on the East Coast, but sometimes we do an earlier show. So we'll see where things land tomorrow. It's a Friday. Friday shows are always awesome. Getting into the weekend, we've got the Penguin episode 5 to look forward to. We've got the Creature Commandos panel at New York Comic Con that's going on right now, and then of course on Monday, John, we've got Superman and Lois with another episode. So
Hell yeah.
it's a packed slate of DC projects on the big screen and the small screen. And of course, even though Joker for All You Do is not making a ton of money, if you haven't already gone to see it, and if you do go see it, tell us about it. Tell us what you thought about the movie. John loved it. I
did.
I'm still thinking about how I feel about it. But let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next one, John. It's been a pleasure. And thanks to everybody in the chat for joining us. Have a great rest of your night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. We love having you around, and we'll see you.
Especially you, Lenny.
Especially
I hope you went back and watched this. I hope you're watching it not live.
And the Watcher and everybody. I mean, everybody. Temple.
You're all great.
Miraculous.
But I just felt
Lark,
bad that
Einstein,
she
Anderson.
felt the need to leave.
Yeah.
I just felt bad.
We got to be a welcoming community, right? TC24, DC Rises. Exactly. We love it. We love it. We love you all. Angelica, Magical Sky Wizard. We love you, Magical Sky Wizard. We love you in the chat. Everybody who was here. And we'll see you on the next episode of DCU Daily.